Welcome. We're in London in a beautiful setting in Shoreditch. London is the capital of the world. As you know, we have 12 unbelievable speakers from 9 different nationalities this morning. I couldn't even believe it, to be honest. But it's a pleasure. It's just excitement for the whole Numbly team that I want to congratulate again because they did it. So congratulations, Morgan, Anya, Simran. You did it. You know, it's the 6th Data Collaboration Summit already. We've had it several times, 3 times in Paris, once in New York, once in Dubai. But there was something lacking on the map, of course, and that was the London edition. So it's that's why we're excited, so excited to have it here. So maybe I can introduce myself first. For those of you who wouldn't know me, I'm Thibaut Meunier, co-founder of Numbly. Numbly, we co-founded it 25 years ago. Yes, that's a long time. And more than ever, we're passionate about how data and digital can help marketing. So we're more independent than ever, 600 people, and more excited than ever about those changes. If I had, when we co-founded with Isolis 25 years ago in a Paris kitchen, not in a Silicon Valley garage, Numbly, if we had just the idea that we could be talking about data collaboration 25 years ago here in this place, obviously we wouldn't have believed it. So maybe we can kick off the intro and introduce our amazing guest speakers. So we will have Stein from Amazon Ads. We will have Nadine from ITV. Petros from L'Oréal. We have Paul from Uber Ads, who's a frequent speaker, I must say, at the DCS. We now have a couple of people who spoke many, many times, and Paul is part of them. So congrats, Paul. We have Laetitia. We will kick off with her, CMO of L'Oréal UKI. We have Damien, VP EMEA from Netflix. Unbelievable to have him this morning. He will join us. And we'll be talking about it, a special guest with Sorin Patilinet from Pepsi, and also another and a writer will be talking about this right now. We have Dr. Ramla Jarrar, co-founder of Mass Analytics. She's somewhere in the room. Thank you, Ramla. Again, a frequent speaker. We have Anne, Scope 3. Thank you, Anne, so much for being with us. You're a local one, and that's important to say because we need some. We have Alexia from LiveRamp. We have Stefano from Smartbox, George from BMG. Welcome, all of you. And some speakers from Numbly as well. We'll have Simran, marketing manager here, Laure, our global head of media, Anya from the content team, thank you, and Luca, our head of programmatic. And here is the agenda. So we will kick off with intro right now. This is what we're trying to do. We'll have the fireside chat with Laetitia. Then a panel on sense and scalability, AI meets full funnel activation. Wow, you can tell there was a big work on the titles here. Mind the Gap, tackling measurement and effectiveness in marketing. Next big panel. Our coffee break with some surprises here. Then we'll have Damien from Netflix, a panel again with LiveRamp and L'Oréal, and actually with Boots, of course, Media Group. And we'll finish with Sorin, who will kind of wrap up with me the morning. So yes, this is the first time in the DCS times that we have a guest speaker like Sorin, who will be, maybe some kind of smart eye, a little bit different, more global perspective. He just published a book 2 months ago, which is called Marketing Effectiveness, and he will be having this kind of a little bit third-party eye on what we're talking about. He will present his book, and we're so happy to have you, Sorin, again so much. A couple of housekeeping rules. So there's a lot of people with us online. I said that already. You can ask your questions because we're in the country of free speech, I've heard. And living in the US, No comment. So I'm so happy about that. Let's take advantage of free speech. So please ask your questions. We will try to save some time for questions always. Trying to define data collaboration, that could be a good thing. You know, after 5 editions, maybe it could be the time to try to define. And the answer is, I don't know how to define that thing. What I know is it's slightly different from retail media. We're talking a lot about retail media. It's good, it's nice, it's exciting, but it's not always data collaboration. What we mean by data collaboration is we need to have 3 key conditions. You know, the first one is the ability to access data, and that is key. Sometimes we call it self-serve clean room. Okay, that's a complex word. AMC being an example, we'll see other ones. But it's this notion of providing some kind of access because, yes, black box, and that's maybe a claim already, are not the solution for what brands need. Black box are not the future, and black box is not an excuse for not providing data. I mean, this idea of, you know, whatever, reasons for providing black box, we don't want this, and I don't think that this is what brands need. Second condition, the capacity to match data sets, because the value very often comes from matching data. And we often say that match rate is the new, click-through, or, somehow the new cookie, because it's the new way to actually make sense of the data, measure accurately, and change and generate some kind of shift of power. So we need this ability to match data sets. And last, but definitely not least, and probably Sorin will have something to say about that, we want the ability to actually build your own KPIs and your own metrics or KPIs. We'll discuss that with Sorin, but the ability to build measurement frameworks, the ability to challenge measurement, and that is critical. So those are, we believe, 3 conditions. After 5 editions, it was time to try to define. I won't go into this. We've been working at Numberly for 10 years in the data collaboration field. Just keep in mind, we do 4 things at Numberly. We do CRM, everything CRM. We love it. We do everything media, and especially retail media, and we connect the dots between the two with tech. We have our own CRM automation tool, the Numberly MarTech platform. If you've never heard, it works great, and we have unbelievable cases and clients. And last but not least, we provide some consulting, strategic, help on all those questions. And data collaboration is at the very core of what we do, because obviously it's about providing, as I said, more data, more access, more transparency, and stronger measurement. So we've been doing that for 10 years. We started with LiveRamp. We're agnostic of technologies, so we work with multiple technologies as well. Of course, the Snowflake, the InfoSum of this world. I wanted to quickly remind everyone about what we mean by cleanroom. This is the idea, and we started with a LiveRamp cleanroom that was back then of Carrefour. Carrefour being a big retailer, and I think the first one among world retailers to adopt a cleanroom with a self-service mode. And we were lucky enough to be partnering both with LiveRamp and with Carrefour at that time, so we were kind of the ideal, person to be working as a trusted third party, which is our key positioning on this. Basically, what we did was to match, retailer-level data, online and offline with loyalty program, with a deterministic approach, and privacy safe, in a clean room, so this strange animal, privacy safe, where matching can happen, but where, like in Vegas, everything that happens stays in the clean room. And so we did multiple brands, some of them in the room, matching with a retailer-owned clean room. And that was the beginning. And we discovered, to be honest, the beauty of that for insights. That is key for activation, because we can define which segments we want to activate on the retailer side. We can export them, and buy media just against those people. And then measurement, of course, closing the loop, as we like to say, because we know who has been exactly activated, who has been exposed, and we can compare, and we can work on incrementality, which is going to be another keyword of this morning. That was nice, that was easy, that was good all time already. It's growing very fast. But this is retailer-led cleanroom. The good thing, which I did not expect, is that cleanrooms went way further than this. Because a few years later, brands said, we want one cleanroom. We deserve one. It's fine to have access to a retailer, but you know what? There's some kind of a price always. And we want to be able to manage data, our data, first-party data, and connect it with multiple sources of data, multiple cleanrooms. So that led us to brand-led data ecosystems, we like to call it, where a brand acquires their own cleanroom. So we have a number of players in this room which do own a cleanroom. And that is very important. We see a huge trend in the US globally around brands taking power, taking access, willingness to control their data, and that comes with a cleanroom that they can connect, obviously, with AMC. We'll be talking about this with Stain. Obviously, with some retailers, Carrefour being one, but more and more. On the French market, you can connect now over 50% easily of the total food business throughout cleanrooms. And also with publishers. We'll have publishers in the room, obviously, so we can discuss it. This is our vision at Numbly, this idea that brands need to be in the driver's seat. They need to build their own data ecosystems, and that is for the benefit of everybody. Everybody. I know that some black box could think, no, this is not where I want to go, but we believe it's the best for the mutual benefits. Just to give you one example, this is what we do in the US with Colgate and Hills from Colgate for the past 4 years already. We've built with them, they've built and we've helped, a huge data ecosystem, a real one. Over 50% of their total transactional sales online, offline is now accessible through their cleanroom ecosystem because they connected, or we connected the top 4 retailers, specialty retailers, Chewy, Petco, PetSmart, and Amazon with different cleanrooms, different technologies. It doesn't matter. It's not only a question of technology, it's a question of access, granular access, and publisher level, okay? The Google, the Display, the Dish, the DirecTV, Ampersand, Trade Desk, etc. They all provide access through some kind of clean rooms to their data. And we connect the dots. In the middle, they put, of course, we put their 1P data, which is little. But look, when you're a CPG brand and you now have access to over 50% of your sales, to over 50% of your media spend at the most impression level, individual level, you know what? You're not really a CPG like we all learned at school. And good news, we have some students in the room. So the world is changing, and you're lucky because you see this, which is definitely the future. So to finish this intro, too long, sorry, we have 4 types of players. We have brands with L'Oréal, with Smartbox, with Pepsi this morning, who will be speaking, and thank you to them, also, of course, again. We'll have publishers. Is Amazon a publisher? You could be everywhere almost, but let's say platforms, ITV, Netflix will be speaking. We'll have consumers, we're all consumers, and we'll have commerce players. See, I didn't talk about retailers because we'll have Uber as well, and we have banks now, we have airlines, we have hotels. Everyone is coming to this game of data collaboration, JP Morgan among others. So it's big, it's growing. Everyone wants to bring their data to the table. So this is the table. We have some enablers in the room, Scope 3, LiveRamp, Mass, Numbly. We are trying to make this work, okay? And that takes a lot of service, a lot of expertise. Yes, that can seem a little bit complex, but this is our vision, and we know with Hill's example that it works so well. And let's kick off with our opening fireside chat, building a successful brand data ecosystem. And I'm very glad to welcome on stage Laetitia Raoust. Welcome, Laetitia. Let's sit.
Hello, Thibaut.
Thank you so much for being with us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Well, you're a repeat speaker with us, so I really appreciate that you could be with us again, Laetitia. It's a great pleasure. I must say that you've always been more than a client. You've been a real partner. If you remember, first time you gave me a call, you were at Google back then, and we were lucky enough and very proud as somebody, we were a baby company back then, to be working with Google as a client. I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but I said
You are.
So thank you so much for being here. You had an amazing international professional journey. You've worked at Google, as I said, for 4 years, first in Paris, then in Hong Kong. You have an incredible total of close to 18 years at L'Oréal. Almost half of it was spent at L'Oréal USA in New York, where you managed some great brands like Soft Sheen Carson, which you launched, Maybelline, Yves Saint Laurent Beauté. And 2 years ago, you made this innovative, bold choice to come to the real capital of the world, London, of course. So congratulations. You are now Chief Digital and Marketing Officer for L'Oréal UK and Ireland. We're so happy to have you here. So, Laetitia, we have almost 15 minutes together, and then we'll open up for questions. We wanted to jump right in the water. I don't know if you say that in English, but let's, who cares? Could you maybe tell us a bit more about how you see this idea of building and maintaining a data ecosystem that I just tried to explain for L'Oréal UK? And I think I have a slide for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm super aligned with everything you said. Obviously, I relate to the Heels example that you showed. I think data is super critical for us. We're a consumer company, so we've always been about knowing our consumers, knowing as much as possible about them. So data, the shape of data has changed, but forever, we've been trying to know what consumers were thinking, what they were doing, how they were behaving. So I think right now we have even more information through what they do online, but the story is the same. This data then informs what products we do, what content we do, how we advertise, what media we do. So we're absolutely convinced that data is the fuel, as we say, for a lot of our marketing initiatives. And today, we're trying to organize this data more and more. So we have our 1P data. I don't know if you have the slide, maybe that's easier, but I think we have clearly limited but good 1P data that's coming from what we do in direct-to-consumer on our own websites, but also in offline events. When we connect with consumers, we collect some of this data. So we have a pool of 1P data, and a lot of this data is also coming from beauty tech. L'Oréal is a big advocate of beauty tech. When we do all the services, if you take a skin diagnostic, if you do a makeup trial online, then it gives us really rich information. So we have this 1P data pool that's important to us, but it can't leave without the collaboration with others. And then we are trying to build more bridges with the retailer data. And we see here, we work a lot with Boots, with THG, with Tesco, with their own data, which obviously will complement ours, and they know things about our consumers, because most of our consumers don't buy directly from L'Oréal. They buy L'Oréal at Boots, so you need to know what they've been doing at Boots. And then, of course, there is almost a third ecosystem, that's Amazon, which is both a retailer, but also now a huge advertising partner, and there's a lot happening on Amazon as well for us, and we're trying to connect these three ecosystems, obviously through clean rooms, with the help of enablers like you, Thibaut, and that's the story we have right now. And then the activation of this data can be just insights. It's important also for our sales team to know that this thing is happening, so then this promotion would be actually relevant, but it could also be activation in media, which is probably the biggest use case that we have. And I'm sure we'll discover other use cases for this data. Sometimes it's product creation. We see that there's a need for a product, and then we brief our labs. And this need has been identified through the collaboration in data.
If you start saying that data collaboration goes beyond media, I think someone in the room will be very happy. And Sorin, I think of you, of course. But we'll get back to this. Thank you for this slide. Thank you for sharing. I think it's very self-explanatory, and it gives an actual, real, idea of how you see that. So back to this notion of data collaboration, maybe you could tell us a little bit how this idea of data collaboration fits into your vision and approach. And again, I think you prepared a slide for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's just a lot of almost fictitious ideas, but the way we see data collaboration is we know something about a consumer, about their behavior, and our retailers, our partners know something else. And when we put these two things together, new ideas come up and emerge. And I think that's exactly what we want to be doing. So I'm not saying we've done all of this, but if I take example D here, we know that, for example, a consumer has done spot scan, which is one of our apps, of our L'Oreal apps, on La Roche-Posay, and they have blemishes, they have acne, and they've taken a whole journey for what would be the right products on La Roche-Posay to treat their acne. And then we match them with the same consumer at a retailer, and we realize that in this retailer, they only shop basic skincare. And we're like, wait, you have acne, you shop basic skincare, how can we upsell you and make sure that you actually shop acne skincare or for blemishes? And here we create a common offer with the retailer, and we create maybe specific content, we push this in advertising, we find a segment, and we target this kind of retailers that have taken a diagnostic here, but are still buying basic skincare to upsell them for the kind of product that we would like them to buy. This is a very simple and theoretical example, but that's what we have in mind when we're talking about data collaboration.
No, absolutely. And we can hopefully all understand from a technical standpoint. I see all the tech people here in the room thinking like, oh my God, this is what brands really want. This is going to be something. Yes, that's a challenge. But look, this is what makes sense from a consumer standpoint, what makes sense from a brand standpoint. So now it's our role to make it happen. And I see some retailers in the room, and let's work on this. Let's make it happen, because it's more obviously than media. It's more than buying a segment of people who did this and that, and that's it, and buy some display ads just because the retailer needs some profitability. Look, this is going, really into the weeds of how to make things work and make sense from a consumer standpoint. Thank you so much for this. Now, of course, we have this question about your third pillar that you mentioned already, which is Amazon and AMC, clean room of Amazon. So we have Stain and Amazon people in the room. That will be fantastic to chat with them right after with our panel. But maybe your vision on this, Laetitia.
But I think Amazon is very sophisticated in terms of data. So for us, it's always probably the partner that's the most ready to do a lot of what we have in mind. And it's where we are, it's both a retailer for us, but it's also a big advertising partner. So I feel that the Amazon collaboration is quite obvious. There's been lots of new features and possibilities open to us on AMC recently. And we feel that now is the time to really scale usage of AMC, because it's proving for us, we've been able to test it. It's proving to work really well. And AMC is it's a ready-to-use way to go for us. So I think, again, this is just the explanation of AMC, so you know what it is and you know the clean room that it is. But for us, it's quite recent that we're putting our 1P data in AMC. So there's really this match rate is important. So we have our L'Oreal data in AMC now, and from there we can derive insights, we can derive media activation. And I think on the next slide we're showing the kind of use cases we're thinking of. So, for example. And it's not a beautiful slide, but we're looking at like the
It's
men.
It's okay, Laetitia.
We're looking at the men target. We know L'Oreal is not that big on men. We're still new to this, but men are using beauty more and more. So we know that they're using this much beauty. L'Oreal is only here. There's an opportunity to grow L'Oreal on this men target and even to bring more men to the beauty world. So there's a double opportunity there. And AMC allows us to combine multiple audiences to go after these men. So you can use the one that have searched anything that is clearly a men-oriented product. So you can use people that have searched our own products or that have bought our own products, so the men expert buyers. So you have the 4 men searches. You have the one that have clicked on ads that are clearly ads for men that we can use. You have the cart abandoners that have tried something. And we basically take all these specific targets. We get to a pretty big qualified audience. In this case, we got to 3 million. So I think it's also super interesting because it gives you the reach that you can have there. We're not talking about a tiny audience here. And what we've been looking at, because it's also what L'Oréal is interested in this case, it's recruitment to our brand. We can measure this new to brand. And suddenly, on this big target, this male target, we're seeing we have a big target, and we're seeing that the new to brand is actually better than on our benchmark ads. So we see the value of AMC in this case because it's well defined. I mean, the tool is very powerful, but we're also very clear about what we're looking for.
You know, I love this example because I think that you're talking about a KPI, new to brand, which is inherently incremental. By definition, if you're new to brand, it means that you were not before. So it's not, obviously, some customers would have become customers by themselves. So we can fine tune this. But overall, we're looking at a KPI which is very sophisticated and way more than return on ad spend. Let's put the word here, which is used 99% of the case. And return on ad spend is about attribution and about connecting who was exposed with who purchased, but there's no causality. So if you look at metrics or KPIs like this one, I think we'll have opportunity to to discuss this later, but this is very interesting and important. And so thanks for sharing. And then I think you had this last case. We can move forward. So you know what? You're going too fast because you're talking about measurement already. So my question was around how do you approach measurement and compare success between your different platforms and KPIs?
You partly answered it because I think, of course, we'll look at CPA, we'll look at ROAS, etc. But all the platforms have different attribution windows, different ways to measure this. And for us, it's extremely complicated. So I'm not saying we're not looking at it. We are looking at what the platforms are giving us. But we've had two changes of mindset recently. One is that for the beauty industry, consumers are less and less loyal and are not loyal by nature because beauty is about discovering new things and that's the new makeup that I want. And then so it's not really realistic to think that people will stick to a brand all the time and will stay within that brand because it doesn't happen like this. Any woman here can relate. They go to Sephora, they buy anything. So I feel that we've gone back recently to thinking, let's look at recruitment. You constantly need to recruit new people to your brand and make sure you increase your penetration. So instead of saying, I'm going to look at loyalty, I'm going to have like churners, which are important too, I think we went back to recruitment. So that's why new to brand is super important for L'Oréal. And that's why recently we've really focused, especially data efforts, on new to brand. How do we bring more people to our brands? That's one thing. And then the second thing is, yes, we look at all the measurement provided by our partners, but we also want to have our own idea and common language in terms of measurement. So we've created internal programs on measurement based on MMMs, but we have our internal measurement tool that measures all the touch points. It's not real time, it's just once a year or a few times a year, so it doesn't give us real-time approach like campaign by campaign, but it gives us big directions in terms of the touch points that are working for us and the touch points that are less working. So I think when we take the partners measurement, we add our layer of once or twice a year internal measurement, and we keep our north of recruitment. That's how we approach measurement today.
Wow. You know, in French, we have this saying which goes like replacer l'église au centre du village, place the church in the middle of the village. Obviously, it doesn't tell anything to English speakers, but apologies for that. But I think you got the picture. And thanks for doing this, Laetitia, because at the end of the day, you know, you're talking recruitment, you're talking penetration, you're talking reach. And that's great to hear. I can see Byron Sharp in the air somewhere here. But you're also talking about loyalty. And that will be a good, nice, easy question for my friend Sorin later on, obviously. Not an easy one. I know he can process already. But thanks. I mean, very interesting. And I love this idea that you are questioning measurement, that you don't want to only rely on what is being given. And this is what we meant in the beginning with data collaboration. So So last question before opening up for question in the audience. Laetitia, this is nice. You're a visionary leader. No question about that. But, how to make this happen in your organization? Do you just want to answer this question?
Yeah, I don't think we have a set answer for that. I think it's changing all the time. I have a few people from my team here, and they know themselves how much we're trying new things and changing. What's for sure is that it's a collaboration between a lot of teams, and it has to be, first and foremost, a collaboration between the business and the experts within our teams. And the business being the product managers, the heads of marketing, the GM of the brands, they have to come to us with a problem to solve, a question, something that for which they need data. And if it doesn't start with them, it doesn't work, because the other way around, we're not going to be able to convince them that, oh, look at this, and then it's interesting. So it has to start from the business. Once we have the business, then we, in my team, I have a team of experts, both data analysts, CRM specialists, and media specialists, that will then build the right insights, the right audience, and the right activation for the data that we've analyzed. But again, and we have to work more and more by task forces and by tribes, or however you want to call this. So it's never one people, and it seems very complex, because I know it's painful to manage a collaboration between 5, 6 different teams, but that's what we have today when we're talking AMC work, retailer media, etc.
Yeah, thank you. Because how to unsilo organization on such a topic is an incredible challenging thing, and I'm sure we have lots of people in the room who have questions or ideas. You can have ideas if you have solutions. I have one I can mention and will be sharing later on, which is upskilling. We believe that upskilling is also a way, just exposing this, what we said, and sharing with others. That's why we decided we'll be showing later on, but to offer certificates at Normally, because we believe that there is so much of a change here. You don't want media teams to say, oh, this is not, data collaboration is not part of my job. You don't want CRM teams to say the same thing, but you want them to collaborate with the measurement people, as you said. So it takes a whole village, again. Thank you so much. We're right on time for questions. Do we have questions in the audience here or remote? Please take advantage of Laetitia's presence. Yes, Morgan has the mic. Yes, we have a question here in the front row. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you very much, Laetitia. I think this is fantastic. For most brands, this is nirvana, what you
Question
showed.
from Sorin Patilinet.
Yes, question from me. I think many brands are not where L'Oréal is today, but I'm very curious. You will be in 3 years from now on this stage. What will you shine with?
What will I shine with?
Yes. What do you think the future will bring for L'Oréal in this space?
I think a lot of what I'm showing is hopefully what will really happen in 3 years, because I think we're doing a lot of this, but not at the scale that I want to be. So I feel that AMC is just starting. We still have a lot of partners that are giving us some data, but not the right level of granularity of data that we would like to have. We still have the teams that are learning how to operate with data. So we're pretty clear about where we're headed. But I think in 3 years, I'd be really proud that we've increased our data usage by 2-fold, 3-fold, and that we've scaled this and we've made it more seamless for everyone in the organization to use. So I think we have the fundamentals in place. We know what the absolute goal is, but I would be lying if I was saying that everything is easy and that, oh, we're so sophisticated, because all of this takes a lot of work, a lot of pain, a lot of mistakes as well. And there are countless campaigns where we do them and eventually the results are not bad but not good. And then what do we do when it's in the middle, you know, and you're like, it's not that easy. So I think in 3 years, I'd be really happy if we had like our proven use cases that we have scaled, not that many, but maybe 2, 3, 4, that we have scaled big times and we can go massively on them, and it's less of a pain for everybody because people have done it and they know how to do it with their eyes closed. So that would be my answer.
That sounds like a great plan. Thank you, Laetitia.
Do it with your eyes closed.
Do we have one last question in the room or remote? Yes, Stefano from Smartbox, please.
So, thank you for the example, actually. I was salivating when I was looking at it.
You were what?
Salivating.
Salivating,
yeah,
all right.
like,
We have
so
salive
good,
in the front row,
it's
just
like
to share.
I want it. So you are very kind in also sharing that actually it was not all easy and a straight line. And I'm curious to see if you had to go back, what would you do differently to actually make it easier for you and your team to get where you guys are today? That is very advanced for many of us.
I think, I think maybe we would. It's more in the infrastructure of data. It's still a bit painful for us because it wasn't structured necessarily correctly in the right way for us. So we've had a lot of like technical work to do, and I feel that had we known better, we probably would have structured it differently. We'd have connected more data to our data pool, because right now we're still fighting a little bit to get the CRM data together with the tech data, together with the offline data. Like all of this would be ideal, but sometimes it sits in very different environments. So I think had we known better, we would have like created for the future a little bit more in the technical part, which I think is one thing. And then sometimes the collaboration that I was discussing, I feel we're still very siloed, and there's still a lot of like transformation work that could have been started earlier.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Laetitia. It was a great pleasure. I
Thank
think
you.
you set the stage, you launched it. It couldn't have been better. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day,
Thibaut. Thank
great
you.
rest of the week. And now, after this amazing opening talk, it's my pleasure to welcome our first roundtable of the morning to the stage, led by Laure and Anya, with our guest speakers, Anne, Stefano, and Stein, some new accents in the room.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, we're okay with this. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this fireside chat. We're very happy with Anya to be hosting this first roundtable of the first Data Collaboration Summit edition in London. That's something. And so for this roundtable, we're going to build on some of the key topics that have been discussed with Laetitia. We're going to discuss about the importance of retail media in data collaboration, about the key role that Amazon plays, obviously, in this ecosystem, and about as well the importance of deploying, inventing an organization and a culture that is the best one to support this kind of transition. So we will deep dive on all of these questions, and for this we are thrilled to welcome 3 amazing speakers. We'll start with you, Stefano. You have a fascinating array of experiences, from working on strategy at American Express to directing commercial strategy at Expedia EMEA, working at Facebook, and now even being a triathlon coach. We'll may get back to that later in this table. And you are now managing director e-commerce for Smartbox. Welcome, Stefano.
Then we have Anne. Thank you so much for being here. As Thibaut remarked, and as you remarked very wisely during our previous discussion, you are the only one here whose accent matches where you work on this panel. So thank you for being our local reference. You've had a front row seat to the evolutions of the ad tech ecosystem, working at AppNexus and Xander, and you are now the co-founder and COO of agentic advertising platform Scope3. Welcome.
And Stein, you've built an incredible expertise with 10 years at P&G in Belgium and Switzerland, then 8 years at L'Oréal in different international settings, I believe in Australia and Singapore, if I'm correct, and you are now the head of UK Retail Media and Advertising Account Management at Amazon. Welcome, Stein, as well.
So we will actually start with you, Stein. As a major global player at Amazon, you have access to incredible insights about different markets and audiences. So can you maybe share with us a few trends for the UK market when it comes to retail media, which, as we've said, has become such a huge part of data collaboration?
Well, I was very humbled when Laetitia presented earlier on, because I was part of the business in 2015, actually, and I worked with the equivalent of Laetitia at that time. Amazon was not even 0.2% of the business those days, and we only talk about 10 years ago. So if you think about then fast forward, which was one of the questions on where we believe that the retail media will be in 2030, all media will be retail media. All media will be retail media. Every campaign will both do brand building as well as conversion. Every campaign will be measurable. And it's already happening today. If you look at the trends which are there, full funnel, we talk about it, and it's the theme of the session, but more of our briefings we get now from clients are full funnel briefings. It's not anymore about conversion or search briefing or an awareness briefing, it's full funnel. It's not anymore about just Amazon owned and operated inventory. It's about how can we access the open internet and how can we connect the dots. Connected TV, how can we inform connected TV with retail signals. It's about privacy safe. In a world of cookieless environment, having real consented opted-in retail signals is very powerful. Personalization can go to the next level. So these trends are already there, and I think they're just going to accelerate. And yes, I don't think it's unimaginable that that all media will be retail media in 2030. And that's why also for us and for my team, yes, we are retail media, but the reality is that we are actually evolving much more to a retail media and ad tech team. And it's data and data collaboration is there what's at the core of what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stein. And to continue on this topic, you mentioned that all media will be retail media. One of the Amazon tools that is at the heart of this vision is AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud. It's really at the heart of the ecosystem. We've discussed right before with Laetitia about how AMC can be integrated within a brand ecosystem, within a strategy. Would you have another maybe example to share with us on brands who make a clever usage of AMC?
Well, I was about let me explain what AMC is, but again, Laetitia did a better job than I will do. And we often realize actually that there is a lot of knowledge out there, also with Numberly on AMC, and sometimes much more than with our own teams. So new to brand was one of the use cases which was mentioned earlier on. We are now in Black Friday planning. So Black Friday planning, a question we're getting very often is we have this whole range of customers who have been looking at our product display pages, at our brand store throughout the year, but they have not bought. So how can we now create an audience from that pool of customers, and we can target them with a specific message, which is not a message about, well, let me discover the brand, because they've done that journey throughout the year, then it's about a conversion message. So that's a very live use case we do with a lot of brands today on Black Friday planning. Other use cases are comparative exposure. People who have seen the ads, people who have not seen the ads, what's the uplift? That's, of course, very compelling and reach exposure. So as part of a funnel, people are browsing how many have actually seen then the ad, how many are not tapped into yet. So how can you, again, back to that incrementality, how can you go as deep as possible in terms of incrementality? So the use cases are every week we get another training on a new use case. I think we got a lot of feedback, and actually this morning as well I was talking to some of the Numberly team. AMC is not easy. And that's why we've now launched also our AI SQL generator, which you can move into prompting rather than you need to be a query specialist, which I'm not at all. Is it perfect? I'm sure brands in the room will say, no, we can improve it, or I'm sure Numberly specialists will say, oh, actually you should change that. But it has helped a lot in driving the adoption of AMC. And yeah, I would say everyone probably in the room should be using AMC, and probably much more than it's being currently adopted.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, it's very interesting to see the evolution of AMC and how it becomes easier and easier to use it even without a very strong data expertise. And talking about use cases and brands who have a clever usage of AMC, I think that Smartbox is a great example. So Stefano, you've been doing really exciting work on Amazon. Can you maybe quickly introduce Smartbox, even though I believe that everyone in this room knows Smartbox? But can you mostly tell us more about the great incrementality experimentations you've been running recently?
Yeah, lovely to be here, humbled to be honest. So let me tell you a little bit about Smartbox, because it's a brand that you might not see at all actually in the UK, and it's one of it has been the leading actually brand in gift experiences for the past 20 years. Was born in France, and some of the major markets are actually the Southern European markets like Italy, France, Spain, and then Belgium. And we have been on a journey of transformation. So I'll start with where we are and then how Amazon and the testing agenda fit in. That is, we are moving away from, or not moving away, we are transitioning from being a gift experience player into actually the experience world. So we want to unbox people's life. And in doing that, we are starting a journey of transformation around actually how do we engage with our customers, how do we redefine our audiences and our products. And that is where business experimentation, especially marketing experimentation on Amazon, is really key. And Amazon has been a key player in two dimensions, similar to what Leticia was explaining. We are clearly a key partner as a distribution, as a retailer, because we make a lot, we're giving you a lot of money, and obviously we make a lot of money thanks to you. And now we are actually leveraging a lot of the capabilities on AMC to actually improve our journey toward understanding how our marketing is deployed. Because as many brands potentially in the room in the past few years, a lot of our focus has been on performance marketing. And that is great, and it works up until a certain extent. But then going back also to what Leticia was mentioning, it's like we're also after the acquiring new customers. And this is where actually data is really needed. And in a consent-first world, I think that working on AMC experimentation has been really key. After seeing Leticia, I would say that we're probably at the beginning of the journey, so I don't feel comfortable saying we're doing exciting things. We're doing a lot of exciting things. And even recently, as little as a couple of months ago, actually, thanks to also partnership with Numberly, we started leveraging the technology, the AMC technology, to actually understand how is our advertising working. An example with DSP linking is the linking in or linking out actually working better on some audiences? And from these learnings, now we are starting the really exciting stuff, that is the iteration. Is actually keep iterating, and the more platforms we add, the more channels we add to the mix, and the more we build a full funnel strategy. So going back to your point of forgetting about just performance, but how the top, mid funnel, and bottom funnel actually work together, this is where we see the future for us. And it's going to be exciting and equally painful. So in triathlon terms, we are ready to put the sweat in, but yeah, quite excited.
Amazing. So when we talk about experimentation and measurement today, obviously one of the key topics to address is what AI and generative AI tools are changing in this world. So Anne, obviously when we talk about these topics, one of the most cutting edge features today in this world is agentic AI and agentic advertising. Can you share with us your vision for this new media paradigm where we're using AI agents to help assist in media planning, buying, optimization, all this?
Absolutely, and maybe just to start with what we mean by agentic AI and what we mean by traditional AI. And I always think saying traditional AI kind of feels crazy because we're already feeling like we're still learning about what AI can do for us. So generative AI, I like to think about as your advisor. So I'm sure you all have your favorite frontier model, whether that's ChatGPT, maybe Copilot for the Microsoft people in the room. But I think that is definitely getting advice. You're starting to see the LLM tell you things, and you can decide what to do with that or not. Where you have an agentic capability, I like to think of that as my intern. So it's someone who I've hopefully hired who can start to become a little bit independent. I have to give it really good guardrails. But as my intern gets more knowledgeable and more expert, I give them slightly longer rope. And they're starting to make decisions on my behalf. And so when you think about the existing advertising paradigm, I think coming from the AppNexus Xander background, I have a lot of things to say about the programmatic ecosystem, a lot of things to say about how wasteful it is, and also a lot of things that programmatic has done well has been thinking about scale. A lot of things about where programmatic works really well is at that kind of lower funnel conversion experience for a consumer, but it's not very good at the upper funnel, the thinking about the rich experience that we want to give to a consumer that means that they resonate with our brand. So how can you do the scale and how can you do the richness? And I think one of the things that we've been thinking about as we look at what the future of the advertising ecosystem could be is imagining a paradigm where you can give your agent the guardrails as a brand. So this is how I want to show up. This is the type of experience that I want my consumer to have. This is how my brand values, where I want to, espouse those within the advertising ecosystem. These are the outcomes that I want to achieve. How can my agent kind of go forth then into the ecosystem and understand what's out there, what's available? So potentially having then a sales agent, so sellers across a really broad range. So you mentioned CTV, kind of all of the offsite things, CTV, the existing kind of programmatic ecosystem, so where publishers can transact in the direct way, but in a programmatic world. And then thinking about the AI native surfaces that potentially don't even exist yet. So we know that there's going to be ads and there's starting to be ads within the frontier model experience. What about how we think about, we were talking to a company last week about drone shows. How can you recognize your brand and have, your lipstick showing in a drone show? And then how can you tie that back into measurement? I think agents are there to start having those conversations with the scale that humans can't do, but also recognizing the richness of the experience, because you can tell it you can tell your agent what you want, and then they can have that conversation with the sell side.
If one day we succeed to measure the incremental impact of drone shows, honestly, that will be something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this evolution is going to require an adjustment of our current media ecosystem. And at Scope 3, you're part of a really exciting industry-wide initiative called Ad Context Protocol. Can you tell us more about this and kind of the issues it's trying to fix in our ecosystem?
Yeah, so about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, a group of over 20 companies, I think we had 6 founding members, and we have almost 800 people in the Slack group now, launched the Ad Context Protocol. So this is built on MCP. So MCP, the Model Context Protocol, is this generic way of defining how agents can talk to each other that was open sourced by Anthropic last year. Anthropic is the parent company of Claude, who's my best friend. And what the Ad Context Protocol does is create more of the language and description of what does it mean for agents to communicate with each other, to start what I was talking about before around defining what it means to buy media in a new agentic way. So there are a few different parts to the protocol. There's the media buying, so defining how a L'Oreal or a Smartbox brand agent would go out and say, hey, this is what I want, what do you have? We have and they talk to sales agents. We have this concept of a creative agent, really thinking about kind of standardization and solving a lot of the challenges of fragmentation of the kind of ads that you would want to serve in the multitude of different environments that are there. And then we have a signals agent, which is really, really interesting when it comes to being able to pull in your data into this paradigm without sharing too much. So the signals agent being able to act directly and talk to the sales agent and act directly and talk within this kind of paradigm of choosing where or not to buy. So we launched this. It's open source. We have tons of different companies collaborating, a little bit of fighting as well, which I always like, because you can't get to the best possible solution without some disagreement. And there's been a lot of discussion about how agentic advertising can be a new alternative way to some of the existing paradigms of buying that solves as I said, the scale challenges of direct buying, the lack of richness in the programmatic world, and then if you're a brand and you're trying to define and decide who you want to connect with, of course, publishers and very large companies have APIs, but you're kind of stuck with doing 3 or 4 or 5. when you have agents at scale, agents can just talk to each other. A new sales agent comes online, and you can just start connecting. So we're seeing the first tests of real agentic media transactions happening this quarter. And so it's very, very early, but I think definitely looking to the future and looking to how you would transact on an outcomes basis, not just on a kind of CPM basis, at scale on surfaces that potentially haven't even been invented yet.
Thank you, Anne. Definitely gives the impression to have a glimpse of what's coming next. You mentioned fragmentation of ads, channels, agents, even. And talking about this fragmentation, Stijn, regarding Amazon, obviously now running campaigns on Amazon goes way beyond the Amazon websites. Can you tell us more about maybe the Amazon DSP and how brands and agencies can leverage it to run campaigns, to measure, to activate, and which Amazon tools facilitate the usage of Amazon DSP as a full funnel channel?
Yeah, you're right. The fragmentation is the biggest enemy of full funnel. So, and we do believe that the future of retail media is full funnel, at scale, and for everyone. So not only for the largest brands, but literally for every single brand out there. If they know sell on Amazon, don't sell on Amazon, and that's why just imagine if today you can connect with what a customer buys on Amazon, with what they watch on Netflix, or Disney Plus, or Paramount Plus, what they listen to on Spotify, what they listen to on Alexa, what they search on TripAdvisor, on Zoopla. All of that is connected now through the Amazon DSP. So that's, of course, that's game-changing. Yeah? That's game-changing, and completely you can flip the script. So it's not anymore about a campaign-by-campaign conversation. It's about, well, you get a brief from the business, gives us, okay, we want to have that incrementality of those of reach. We want to make our brand younger. We want to drive category growth, etc. And then you organize your campaigns as such. And we have now a tool for those of you who've used it, Performance Plus, who's actually optimizing the campaigns on behalf of you. And the results are impressive. Not every single campaign, but broadly the results have a much better CPM, ROAS, whatever performance metric you want to use. Then secondly, our ad relevance technology is coming into play. So our ad relevance technology is the technology we use to ensure that you see the most relevant ads at the context you're in, which can be different at any given point in time, can be different during the day, can be different on what you're browsing. So we want to make sure that you see the most relevant ads. So our DSP is connected to this ad relevance technology. And the most and the largest feedback we're getting from partners, from brands using our DSP is, of course, we remove the complexity. So we leave a lot of it being run automatically. You don't have to monitor your campaigns on a day-to-day basis, and you let actually Performance Plus, in this case, or Brand Plus, which is an equivalent solution, do the job for you. So it's not just about technology. It's not just about inventing new tools. It's about how do we change the conversation, how do we change the solutions we offer to brands to make just everything more easy for brands to work with the DSP.
Yeah, and you mentioned Performance Plus. Overall, Amazon has been one of the strongest adopters of AI, and very early on. Can you share us some more features leveraging AI and Gen AI that you've implemented beyond Performance Plus?
Well, we talked about agentic AI, and I think that's probably now the talk of the town, and it's gaining momentum, and rightfully so. We have our own agent in Amazon called Rufus. I don't know if you've used Rufus. Rufus is actually the name of a dog. We've used Rufus. If you go to your Amazon app, bottom right, you have these text balloons, blue and orange, and you can have a chat. Yeah, what shoes should I buy for my next 10K, etc. These agents will become, as you mentioned, much more trend-aware, contextual, smart. So that's definitely going to become very interesting to watch that space on how it's going to change the path of purchase. Now, closer today already, and that's still lots of innovation happening in that space. What's already commonplace, now 70% of our sellers, of our brands, are using our content solutions. So AI generation, audio generation, video generation, image generation. So that's actually now widely adopted, and it's again simple prompting that you get the assets you need. So I know some of you will be at Unboxed in Nashville next week. I would be very surprised. I haven't seen the slides, so I would be very surprised there's not going to be more news in the AI space next week.
Thibaut will tell us you will be in Nashville next week.
So coming back to the work you do at Scope 3 and to you, and obviously you're committed to, with your agentic approach to better measurement and better media effectiveness, but you're also very committed to supporting safe and sustainable growth for brands. So can you tell us a bit more about how you embed these two aspects, of brand safety and sustainable media buying into an agentic approach?
Yeah, and I guess I'll start with sustainability, because I think that's what Scope 3 has been best known for the last almost 4 years. When we were thinking about how to measure the carbon footprint of the ecosystem to figure out a new, better lens on which to shine a light on loads of the problems, I think the growing realization that we had as we started to see more and more AI tools being, I would say, kind of sprinkled on top, was that there's going to be a huge explosion in energy use and inefficiencies if we didn't actually take another step back and recognize a better way of doing things within the ecosystem. So while we know that energy, kind of the efficiency of AI models is significantly improving, I think Gemini did a study last year, and they said that the carbon footprint of an individual text prompt has gone down 44 times. So that's great, but you think about that's a single one, and then you think about how much more we're using it. That's the non-economies of scale there. So we really needed to think about it. That's kind of the part of the genesis of thinking about agentic advertising. What if we were not thinking about auctioning on the individual impression level with all of these intermediaries? What if you could actually have AI being used in a smart way, so that we are taking all of the benefits of this new burgeoning technology and a burgeoning ecosystem, but doing it in a way that was smart and effective. And so we think a lot about that in our use of AI internally, how we're doing that, the tools that we use, pushing the agenda within AdNet Zero and the community to make sure that the use of AI is included in the the GMSF, the sustainability framework, so that we are thinking about that. But I think there is definitely kind of a balance to be played there, and making sure that what we're doing doesn't have negative first and second order consequences. But I will say that we've learned a lot of lessons from the past, where we have a huge hype cycle. There's this fear of being left behind by your competitor if you're not using the latest technology in every single possible way. But I think we're all thinking about how to use technology in the most effective way. And so there should be a conversation about the sustainable impact of that on the side. And for us, if you're transacting on outcomes, it means that you're actually spending your media budget in a more effective, more efficient way. Then you can reinvest that money into continuing to drive that. You're not seeing waste, and where there's economic waste, there's lack of transparency, there's, of course, energy waste as well. So it kind of all comes back to the same thing.
Thank you, Anne. And maybe one last question to finish this roundtable about measurement. For you, Stefano, so as you've mentioned, we are very lucky to be partnering with Smartbox, in particular on measurement topics. And within the frame of this partnership, we've built together a learning agenda, and we've run many experimentations together. And one of these that we wanted to share with you today is an experimentation that we've run on Amazon. The objective of this experimentation was to measure the incremental impact of different types of Amazon activations. So we've built test and control groups, meaning that we exposed one group, we did not expose the other group, and we analyzed the differences of behavior, and in particular in terms of conversions, but also other types of KPIs, to really analyze the impact. And we've done that for different types of campaigns. Link-in campaigns, meaning campaign redirecting to the Amazon website. Link-out campaigns, meaning campaigns redirecting to Smartbox D2C website. And we've also measured the incremental impact of link-in and link-out campaign combined together. So we've built these different types of experimentations, and we have measured for all of these different strategies of campaigns the true incremental impact of the investments. So of course, this is a way to later optimize the investments and Amazon investments in particular, but we are now running the same types of experimentations on all platforms with the final objective to have the optimal budget allocation across platforms and across strategies. So that's an example of one experimentation. Would you have any other example to share with us, Stefano?
So I think I'm very thankful of the partnership with Numberly. I think it was we have been probably soul searching for a while. I know that Numberly has been already a key partner for us in other testing still on Amazon for the past few years. But one of our pillars for our strategy of transformation has been really creating the infrastructure of building a learning agenda, of how to start actually measuring incrementality. So becoming very precise on how do we target new audiences, how do we increase our retention, and also how do we spend our money, especially in the moment when we were shifting dramatically from performance to actually having a full funnel approach. And I think that to me, the experience that we're having with you guys is quite crucial and significant. And I'm going to be biased, so I'm not selling Numberly, but I might be trying to sell the approach that is helping us, giving my team that is actually quite inexperienced in terms of building a learning agenda, the confidence of actually going from 0 to 1, right? Going from no experimentation at all, a little bit of A/B testing, really not knowing what to do with the results of the testing, into actually having a very structured approach on and plan on how do we actually go. We have incrementality testing at scale across funnel stages, across platforms. We are increasing the number of platforms, I would say, for our standards exponentially, because I don't know, there is probably Google people here from Google that works really well, but going into social media, potentially thinking about how to expand it into offline, and to us is really going to become a driver of our growth. And the elements in which that I want to mention is that on top of the learning agenda that is really well taught, there is the element that Thibaut was mentioning around the upskilling. So it's not just the technicalities of actually deploying very powerful technologies and very rigorous measurement capabilities, but it's also the upskilling of my team, both in terms of the skills and also the software side of actually getting the courage of actually being bolder in actually not just testing what they believe is going to work, but it's actually testing what they generally don't know whether it's going to work or not. And we're seeing the results. I mean, even the fact that we are taking very bold decision ahead of peak of actually doing some pivoting in the way we are allocating our budget to actually speed up the learning process. I think that to me is really, really exciting. And I can go on forever, but I see the red blinking here.
It's popping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to all three of you. I think, yes, in trying to keep with our timing, we're not going to have Q&As, but feel free to talk to our speakers at the break. Thank you so much again for being with us.
I'm so glad to be joined by Simran. Hello, Simran, to host our 4 next guest speakers, Ramla, Sorin, Paul, and Nadine. Please join us. You should all have a mic. Welcome, Nadine. Welcome, Ramla. Welcome, Paul.
We are one short.
Yeah, we are one short. We are one short. We can share. We can share. I'm so happy to open this next panel. Maybe I will start with quick intro. I want to remind everyone with thank you, Fabien. With the title "Mind the Gap: Tackling Measurement and Effectiveness in Marketing." The previous one was "Sense and Scalability: AI meets Full Funnel Activation." So, talking about measurement, which is everywhere, really, I want to, in our discussion, I want to quickly introduce our speakers. We can start with Ramla. You are a worldwide expert in measurement methods, in MMM techniques. You are the founder and president of Mass Analytics. Welcome, Ramla.
And welcome to Sorin. You're one of our measurement experts as well. We're super thrilled to have you here today. You work with support some of the leading brands in their marketing effectiveness journeys. Previously Mars, now Pepsi and Co. And now you're a published author too. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but welcome.
Thank you, Sorin. And we also have Paul, the one and only Paul Wright. Thank you so much. Instead of welcome, I should say welcome back, because you are a frequent speaker of DCS, an absolute fan, and we are a fan of you, Paul. So we were so lucky to have you in the Paris DCS a couple of months ago. Some of you might remember. You are the head of EMEA for Uber advertising. And you've recently been shortlisted, Paul, as media leader in the media owner category at the 2025 Media Leader UK Awards. Congrats, Paul. Thank you so much for being with us.
And last but not least, welcome to Nadine Warren. Nadine has a combined experience on both agency and publisher side. You're an absolute expert in media, and you're an advanced advertising manager at ITV, so welcome.
Hi.
Hello, Nadine. Thanks for being with us. So, because we have such an incredible array of experts here around the table, Mind the Gap, we wanted to start as an intro to this measurement-focused roundtable by asking you all about the trends you've been seeing from your corner, your side of the ecosystem, especially for the UK market. Maybe, Paul, we have to start with you. What do you see here?
I think there's a lot going on in various places. I think, but what we're seeing is a lot of focus on capturing attention generally as a measurement, and I think that's a key thing. I was talking to some CPGs who are now saying that attention is becoming one of their key measurement on top of data. What is the attention of this ad? When is it being delivered to someone? What is the moment and what's the context? And that's becoming it's a very different thing from, I guess, from the programmatic world, where we were very much send out as many messages as possible and hope that it works type model. Although, you know, I'm sure that's being a bit disparaging, but it's sort of where we were, to a much more targeted in the moment model. You know, when do you get the right user at the right time on any of the big platforms or people like us? So we're seeing a lot of that, and that's changing the way people want to engage with us.
Thank you, Paul. Nadine, on your side, from a publisher's perspective, you're the first publisher this morning. Thank you so much. What's your vision on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think media owners and broadcasters especially have been really focused on their streaming strategies in order to grow the pie. You know, it's a highly competitive market for us, and to grow those digital revenues, we're all looking at bringing in more advertisers, SMBs. I mean, at ITV, we call it felt, the fat end of the long tail. I don't know if that's going to catch on. Maybe more of an internal thing. But, you know, I heard it quoted that us broadcasters have about 7,000 advertisers that we work with, and there's many, many more out there. So to enable that, we need to bring about easier access to our platform. There's obviously a huge raft of tech and data capabilities, which is going hand in hand with the rapid CTV growth in Europe. Of course, we'll be talking about, I'm sure, retail media and measurement, which have been, you know, off the back of that exploding. But there's a lot to do in terms of measurement, especially for broadcasters. We're really focused there.
Thank you, Nadine. Sorin, from your brand perspective at Pepsi.
So what's trending? I don't think this works, no? So what's trending at PepsiCo in the hallway nowadays? I would say it's differentiated growth models. Most of the CPG brands, or like established brands that have been built using mass media for decades and decades, are benefiting from those investments. And honestly, we are struggling to build new brands. And I don't know if it's the same for the other brands large brands in the audience, but we are looking for a lot at new players that are absolutely killing it. One example is Poppi. It's a brand that PepsiCo purchased it was created 5 years ago. It was valued at $2 million in Shark Tank, and it was sold to PepsiCo for $2 billion 5 years later. It's riding on this prebiotic trend, and what we're learning from Poppi is fantastic, because their entire measurement philosophy, their entire media philosophy doesn't rely on traditional methods. It's all about influencer content. It's all about seeding. It's things that are not natural for us and things that we don't know how to measure. And our tools are not ready for those kind of approaches. So that's where I'm spending a lot of time now.
Talking about Poppy, I have 2 teenagers living in New York. I must say I have a Poppy budget, which is, I can help with measurement if you need, sorry.
Incremental, please.
We need this is very incremental. I'm telling you, this couldn't be more incremental. Ramla, please, your vision on this.
Yeah. So I think I would second Paul when it comes to the attention discussion. I think the quality reach, as you call it in your marketing effectiveness book, is very important today. And I've seen a lot of brands requesting for attention to be part of the marketing mix models. The second thing that we've seen a lot in mass analytics is that there is this need of integrated measurement, but not the way we used to think about it, because back in the days, integrated measurement means that attribution, experimentation, and MMM, all of them had to say the same story and integrated within one another. We know that this is a myth. It doesn't happen anymore. And it's very important that we can take the truth from every single measurement, use experience, the experience for the brands, from the brands, the experience from the vendors, and try to get closer to the truth. And I think that's how we think about integrated measurement today. The third thing that I've seen a lot come in is the speed at which we want to run measurement. So today, running MMM, or even when Stefan was talking about experimentation, it's not a matter of 1 or 2 experiments, it's how can we run this at scale in order to get closer to the truth. So speed is very important. Now budgets are not anymore decided on annual basis, they are decided sometimes on quarterly basis, and there's always this need to update your models in a more frequent way. So you're always on analytics becomes today a very important proposition in the marketing measurement space.
Perfect, thank you. Paul, within this context, you can tell us a little bit more about Uber Ads expansion, all the exciting things you've been doing recently. And I know you've got a couple of use cases to share with us.
Yeah, because we're relatively new to market, of course, and we have these very interesting opportunity, and particularly around the attention space, but also measurement. Because when you think about an app usage like ours, it's very much lean in, there's no interruptions, all that type of stuff, both when you're on the rides element, going to somewhere, or whether you're on Uber Eats. So we've created a platform that basically has ad formats natively integrated into the experience that you have, and many of you have seen these. But the beauty is, obviously, we're creating data points all the time. So, I mean, we've got 189 million monthly users, and we're about 3.5 billion trips a quarter, which is about 600 trips a second, I think, something like that. If my maths is good. I'm not so sure it is this morning. All of those create data points. So all of those, that's the data. So we have the data and the context. And I think that's the powerful point of what we do here. And that's why attention is becoming a very important part of what we do. And I think on the next slide, these are some of the units. On the next slide, we did some work with Lumen. Many of you may know Lumen. They do a lot of work on the attention space. So we actually sat people in Ubers with their eye trackers on and try to work out how the ads were being engaged with. Now, the average Uber trip is about 25 minutes. Varies a little bit longer for airports, but let's say it's 25 minutes broadly. Within that time, we know that the ad is exposed around about 2 minutes because you're in and out of the app according to waiting for the car to confirm, in the car, or waiting for the driver to arrive. You know that thing, and if you're like me and you're OCD, you're sort of desperately worrying about which route they're going to take to get you there on time. So you're back in the map. So we were tracking this. We also tracked the Uber Eats experience as well when you've made a booking to see what Lumen made of the whole principle of attention within our context. So we sort of guessed we had a good thing, but we weren't sure about it. What it proved was, because it's a single user experience, you've got no other distraction. Uber's ads platform is actually second only to OLV non-skippable, so which is YouTube essentially, when you're waiting for the content you want. And obviously there's no transactional value, there's a different transactional point from our point of view there. So that's been great to look at, and we've done a whole load of other work on how that affects brand impact, brand lift, brand favorability. So this whole attention thing seems to be a very strong proposition for us, and what we've done increasingly now is we've just announced a deal with Adelaide and with Kantar to actually start measuring this on a more consistent basis, and there's more to come on that area. But we think this is particularly in a world with AI and everything else, that attention that you have with the user is vital. A couple of examples of ads we've run just to demonstrate how it works. So this is a Pizza Hut example, both running on the Rides app as also on the Uber Eats app. And this won an award for this. I mean, interesting, we're tracking back not only the attention, but also the impact on sales. So the ad, the journey ad, we call the journey ads, these are the ads that run in the Uber Rides experience. So you can see this was a gamified ad. You can actually play Space Invaders with pizzas, whatever. But it's that downtime. You've got a bit of downtime, you can do that type of thing. You play around. We know this from our experience of the app. And that gamified area drove £95,000 worth of sales. The user dwell time, 3 minutes in an ad. The increase in new eaters as well is 26%. So we actually generated 6% new customers, incremental customers. Table. Pizzas this time, not other things.
Are they incremental to Uber Eats or are they incremental to Pizza Hut?
Both. Because, well, Uber Eats, because you've got to remember that some people have used the Uber Rides app and not necessarily used Uber Eats and vice versa. So there is an element there. So that's a great example of this. And then the other one, the next slide, is just how you can do it in the Uber Eats environment. So this is what we call a post-checkout ad. So we can target people at a particular time of day with a particular profile based on the data sets we have. And we have 2 sets of data. We have 3 sets of data: your personal data, what you do on Uber Rides, and what you do on Uber Eats. And in this case, we were looking for sports fans who were into particular food types because we reckoned that working with DAZN, they were promoting a boxing fight that was happening at a particular time. And we could do this on Saturday nights, and that could, obviously, you get your food delivered, and then you can watch the fight. That was the idea. This one had a 5.6% click rate. So, and the dwell time is similar as well. So you've got these experiences where we're grabbing attention with data, contextualized attention with data, I guess, and driving effectiveness back for advertisers on the back of it. And that's what we're doing. So there's a lot more coming in this area, but that's how we're sort of shaping our ad business. And obviously, we do have performance platforms and all those other things as well. It's not just around this, but there is this connectivity between a sort of a brand presence all the way through to transaction, which is what is hopefully driving success for our advertisers.
Incredible. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Nadine, coming to you. ITV has been pioneering some great, amazing work surrounding clean rooms. Maybe you can share a little bit more about your approach, some use cases. It seems that clean rooms has been a really integral part of your measurement approach, so we'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. In the 3 years before, 5 years prior to joining ITV, where I've been 3 years now, I worked at Nectar Sainsbury's. So I spent some time in what I call the pipes and the plumbing of the clean rooms, and particularly in the off-site media space, which, I think, I don't know if there's retailers, but certainly FMCGs in the room will know, has helped aid the explosion of retail media in the last 5 years. And in the 3 years I've been at ITV, I've been really focused there as well. So, our default clean room for activation is InfoSum. And what we'd be able to do with that, I'll touch on 2 things. So thing number 1 is working with advertisers. Some are sitting on a huge goldmine of first-party data. Some are looking to grow out, scale up what they can do. And of course, with the scale of ITV, over 42 million registered users in the UK, up to 20 million monthly active users. So we've got that scale, and we can, I'm going Love Island here, couple up with I couldn't resist, I'm sorry, it's in my contract. We're working with advertisers and working with them closely, and you know how it is, it's very time intensive, so we spend a lot of time consultatively creating what I like to call programmatic strategies. So that's really exciting for us in TV. So what I mean by that is, things you'd come to expect from digital platforms, modeling lookalike strategies, suppression, finding lapses. So we spend a lot of time talking about those strategies and then giving them the ecosystem to do closed loop measurement off the back of that. We recently had some recognition for some work we did with Heineken. We're going to go into year 3 of their first-party data strategy. So using, obviously, ITVX, our platform, and Tesco Dunnhumby's measurement, we've been able to work with them to create a strategy across, I think it was 7 of their brands this year. So it's absolutely huge. and really test. It's gone from, I suppose, test and learn. What can we achieve? What can we learn from it? To now, like, honing in on their audience strategy. So we've had a really interesting case study there. I think we're known for being trusted. I'd like to think TV is still a very trusted platform, and to borrow what Paul was saying, high attention. We don't like to disrupt the viewing experience too much with advertising. But we also have to be really careful with the partnerships, particularly around the data that we have. So we have a very stringent sniff test with our data privacy team. My boss always says, rubbish in, rubbish out. That's not trying not to swear on a Thursday morning, but yeah, rubbish in, rubbish out. So yeah, we can't obviously partner with everyone, so we have to be really choosy about who we partner with in terms of other publishers and other data providers. But yeah, so it's been a really exciting space. I've been very much in the weeds. The measurement, which I've already touched on, I think is definitely a really big focus for us moving forward. So not just with our advertising partners, but in data partnerships that we've established, such as Tesco.
Thank you so much, Nadine. Paul, speaking about measurement on your side, you've been very vocal, and you know how to be vocal, about the need for greater measurement consistency. Why is this, Paul, so important for retail media?
Well, I mean, it's just to make retail media standardized with media. I mean, that's the real thing. And I think there's been, a lot of people have come out with stuff, but we're looking at, how do we get measurement tools in that are standardized, like things like MRC, that type of thing. We just need it, because I think for advertisers, when I speak to them, don't care whether we're commerce media or publisher media. We're just media, and what they want is a consistency across all of those things in terms of how they measure things. So I think that being said, there are some things which are unique to retail media or commerce media, which you might argue there is a measurement approach that is going to be unique, and that's fine. The obvious one, particularly for platforms like us, is about how you do incrementality on a platform, because incrementality is one of those. You can ask 10 people, and their definition of incrementality is going to be different. So that's an area I think that we have to work through. But that's really just a back-end measurement solution using the data that you have, rather than necessarily a standardization that's needed. Because obviously our customers, whether they're big restaurants or CPGs or any of the brands we work with, have very different views on that. But we're working through on that. But I do think where retail media, commerce media has to play is just getting as many of the things standardized getting to a standard that would be acceptable for a normal media platform. It will just take some time.
At last Data Collaboration Summit in Paris, you may remember the big catchphrase was from your counterpart in France, Nadine, TF1. He said, "No first party, no party." And so it looks like maybe this time you could be the one, Paul, around this idea of standardizing measurement. So I want to turn to our masters of measurement. I like the fact that you sit here in the middle. Plus, Ramla, you look beautiful in your white, costume, and you are the truth with MMM. You are the truth, kind of. Everyone refers to you as the truth. So what does the truth say? The experts. What do you think about the difficulty we have in measuring retail media?
So I would start by the first one, which is what I call fragmentation. So every single retail media network would have their own way of defining ROAS, their own way of defining attribution windows, their own way of reporting. And in a way, we are not comparing.
We're a mess.
We're a mess.
But we're sorry, we're in the battlefields here with the brands, and we do what we can, but we're a mess.
Yeah, so that's the reality. So we're not really comparing apples to apples in this case. I think the second challenge with retail media is lack of transparency. As much as these great networks are really keen into sharing with us great numbers when it comes to ROAS, when it comes to sharing with us what is the methodology, how those numbers were driven, we really stumble on a wall because there is nothing there that we can help us understand how these numbers have been cooked in a way. So I think transparency is the second challenge. And the third one is the incrementality, but also the spillover or halo. So the incrementality, again, how much of this is incremental? Is it ROI or is it ROAS? That's the first one. Second, but that's more for the works in favor to the retailer. So sometimes you do your ads within the retail network, don't only work on the platform itself or the retailer itself. It will go outside, it will go for other retailers, and that as well is not measured as part of your retail media network. So I would say that these three elements make retail media very difficult to measure. And of course, that doesn't say, so here we're not saying that it's impossible, but we're saying that with a little bit more of transparency, with a little bit more of alignment, we'll be able to do that. And again, the other thing that would be really key, and I think Soren will talk about it later, is the fact that when, at least from the MMM world, when we receive retail media data, it's always bundled, okay? So we don't have it by format, we don't have it by brand. So there's little you can do when data is not detailed and is not granular in MMM. So that's a call for all retail media network owners that it's very important that the data transparency is there so we can really measure it alongside the other activations.
I should say that's the idea of the partnership we have together to try to bridge that gap.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a big challenge, but I'm so excited to say that we are
yeah, we'll get there.
absolutely going after that. Sorry.
So she stole the show, huh? I mean, there's nothing I can say to add to that. I think she basically took all my points and broke them into... But yeah, consistency of data is something we fight. To give you like a day-to-day example, we run market mix models on retail media as well, included comparing that with paid media. But the model is run at brand level. The data that we have for retail media is at retailer level. So how do you decompose that? How do you ensure that the quality of the data matches the level of the modeling? That's one key challenge. I'm not an expert on retail media by far, but I see that retail media is a big battlefield nowadays in CPG. It's eating from the paid media budget, but it's also eating from the trade budget. It has a lot of room for growth. It's the fastest growing lever that we have. And we still want to figure out how can retail media work to build brands, not just to sell brands. And if anyone can help me do that, that would be fantastic.
I think Paul would have an answer to that, and maybe our friend from Netflix. But Paul, please.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think there's a couple of things on data I just took on retail media. One of the challenges is obviously the digital businesses were never built to be retail media necessarily. That came secondarily. So data sets have to be adjusted and improved to make it work much more effectively for advertisers, particularly around cataloging on SKU level data. That's always a challenge, I think, with a lot of these things, especially when you're talking about attribution or ROAS and those types of things. So there's data sets to do there. But I do think there are opportunities to build brands in in some of these platforms like ours, because I think you can capture the user in different ways and drive activations accordingly. And I think this whole idea, I mean, you know, this whole thing about moments really matters, I think, because the consumer's whole experience now is so different, but they will grab moments which are really important to them. That's certainly what we see.
Absolutely. I can only 100% agree with that. We have firm beliefs that what we call away from home, or like consumption that doesn't happen when you buy it in a grocery chain, is where we build brands nowadays. I mean, where Pepsico, where Walker's is built is not in Tesco, but it's in Subway and Uber Eats.
You said that. Paul, you did the job.
Of course.
Done.
Simran.
Nadine, you have a project underway that addresses the shortcoming in measurement standardization. Can you tell us a little bit more about Project Lantern?
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone in the room is aware of Project Lantern. So this year it's been in pilot, and what it is a radical collaboration, you could call it, between Channel 4, Sky, ITV, alongside Thinkbox, and what they've built. I mean, I'm not in the team, but I work alongside them. What they've built is a panel that will enable advertisers, enable our buyers to have a look at the effect of total TV on online digital actions. So I think for years, and there's loads of studies that show the power of TV. I mean, it's great for creative storytelling, it's great for building brands. However, in terms of how an advertiser will see the measurement after, there's a huge lag. And if you think about, it's very envious how the platforms can deliver on results instantly. We don't have that in TV. So even though we know the power of it, that's been an issue, and it's also been hard to measure for advertisers as well in terms of, you spoke about standardization, looking at that total TV view. So next phase of the pilot is I think they've opened it up to advertisers next. If anyone's interested, I'll introduce you to the team, of course, but what they're looking to do, so they've started with linear TV, ambition for next year is to bring in VOD. We've obviously done a lot in the measurement space, but nothing as collaborative and radical as this. So it is a really exciting experiment for us.
No, thanks for talking about the Lantern project. I think, again, it shows the value of collaborating between peers and sometimes competitors for the benefit of everyone. Thank you so much, Nadine. Ramla, I want to turn to you again to talk about this topic of MMM. And as you know, incrementality and experimentation, or RCT, randomized controlled trials, are often quoted as ways to avoid some of the pitfalls of measurement and especially of attribution. But these are not always possible, as you said, as we saw, depending on the brand settings and resources. So can you share a little bit on how you see this question of connecting MMM with the incrementality measurement within some kind of measurement framework?
I think it's essential. I do believe that there is no one single source of truth. And I think nobody knows the truth. I think all people that operate in the measurement space, we try to get closer and closer to the truth, but who knows where is the truth? That's why I think it's super, super important that when you run any measurement exercise, that you open your eyes and your ears and your books to everything that has been done in measurement. So I don't think that experimentation or attribution or marketing mix modeling need to compete. On the contrary, I believe that marketing mix modeling is that platform that opens for all these measurements to be integrated. I think when, for example, at Mass Analytics, when you run a project, the first thing that we ask our clients whether they have run any experimentation, for us to get the result of those experimentation and also how these experimentations have been run is super essential. Because when I trust the way the experiment has been run, then I would trust the output of it. And then I would be able to calibrate the MMM models using those experiments. And I think that the best models that we had delivered were the ones where we have used those ground truth in order to calibrate models. In a way, what decision makers will have is something that is aligned, something that gets the strength from every single method, because whether it's MMM or experimentation or attribution, each one of them has its equal weaknesses and strength. And the idea here is to tap onto the strength of each method, acknowledge the weakness of each one, and try to get something closer to the truth that can help brands make better decision making.
Incredible. I really want to thank you for this and remind everyone of how much of a change this is, to hear what you say, your vision of MMM being open. This is exactly the opposite as the vision of MMM as an ivory tower. I see Paul agreeing with me. Sorin, what do you think?
So I would take one step back. So I fully agree with whatever Ramla said right now. I would go back to classifying what kind of decisions do you want to make in the organization. And we're probably talking too much about the tool, we're talking too much about the data, and we're talking too little about the decisions that we're going to make. So MMM is fantastic at channel level allocation, incrementality is fantastic at within channel optimization. So once you clarify what's the business decision that you're going to make based on that measurement, then the road gets clear and you can understand exactly which method works perfectly. So I haven't yet seen how experimentation works perfectly with MMM, but I would love to see it.
This is the frontier. Thanks for reminding us of this, which really resonates with what Laetitia said in the beginning, to really start with business questions. I think we have time, Simran, for some questions.
We do. Thank you so much to all of our speakers for your insights. So we'll turn to the audience if you have any questions.
Questions? Maybe remote?
We do have one remote, unless someone wants to take a first.
Yes, there is one over there in the back, Morgan.
Perfect.
Thank you so
Get
much.
my cardio in. Okay.
Thanks. The hardest is always the first one.
Hi, this is for Simran. You were mentioning that for Poppy, they have a completely different set of measurements, and they're built to basically measure product seeding and influencer marketing. How are they doing that, and what are you learning that you can allocate to more traditional brands?
How are they doing that? That's a very long conversation. I'm happy to have it over a chat. It's simply that everything they do is opposite to what a traditional reach-based plan model would look like, and it works. And that's where we need to better understand how could a large organization like PepsiCo adapt those kind of like weird, let's say, plans and still work with the constraints that we have, like the amazing field force, distribution, scale, and principles that we have in place. I don't know what, I don't know. I know what experiments we will put into place to try to replicate that model. I don't know if that model would work for an established brand. It probably needs to start from a seed.
We have a question in the front, Morgan. Thank you. Sorry. We have you run.
Yeah, keeping you on your toes. Thanks so much, guys. That was really fascinating. I think a couple of people mentioned, forgive me, I forget who exactly, but the kind of opaqueness of trying to capture measurements across retailers and ultimately maybe not even fully trusting some of the ROAS numbers that are coming out of that. When you do get that across a network of dozens of retail networks or retailers, etc., when you do get those numbers, how then do you face the challenge of aggregating that into a data set that can actually be used and then applied to a strategy back out across those retailers, if that question makes sense? And I guess it's kind of cross-panel, but maybe Søren again could start on that one.
I think Laetitia earlier on, when she was talking about the experience and how they do it in L'Oréal, I think she brought in one of the answers that I believe a lot on. So she mentioned that she will be getting those ROAS from the different platforms, but at the same time, her own teams internally would be running some kind of measurement program. They'll be comparing what they are getting in terms of ROAS with what they are getting in terms of internally, and they will try to calibrate. I think, as I said earlier on, the truth is somewhere in between. It's very important to use all the elements you have, your marketing mix modeling, your experimentation, your gut feeling, as well as a decision maker, the decision that you want to make ultimately with this type of measurement. And of course, if you have any vendor or if you have any supply of services, to tap on their experience, because we know, for example, what is approximately the impact of retail media. We know what is the impact of promotion. So if we see that, I was speaking to Paul yesterday about a client telling me that they were running some kind of AI-powered email marketing, and they believe internally that this is driving 30% of their business. We know that this is impossible. It's just impossible. So that's again the experience that you would have that put on the table in order to calibrate some of the thinking. And I think, Søren, in your book, there's something that's very interesting that you mentioned, that sometimes, why are you running measurement? Are you running measurement in order to validate your beliefs as decision makers, or are you running measurement in order to discover the future? And of course, Søren was leaning towards measurement that will lead us to a better future, rather than just using measurement in order to validate the decisions that the business has made.
Wow. This is a fantastic way to close this panel. I want to thank you all so much. Please, before proceeding to the break, yes, you can go back to your seat. I have a couple of announcements. First of all, what's next? We'll have an amazing fireside chat with Damien Bernet, building the future of entertainment-driven advertising from Netflix. Then we'll have a panel, as you like it, the UK journey towards clean room and data collaboration. We'll have LiveRamp, we'll have L'Oréal, we'll have Boots with us. And we'll finish with Sorin with a fireside chat on strategic frameworks for marketing effectiveness. And of course, some refreshments. But before that, Anya, I think you have a surprise for us.
We have a little surprise for you here in the audience. You might have noticed when you walked in that some of the chairs have a little orange dot, a little orange sticker on them. If your seat has one, congratulations, you have just won a signed copy of Soren's book. So if you do have one, please take your sticker and bring it to the little table over there where Soren will be signing.
Congratulations for the orange stickers. Yes.
Thank you. And
this was great. I had to take a picture because that was unique.
And if you're not...
Yeah.
If you don't have one, or if you're not in the room with us, if you're joining us in remote, don't worry, because we have another opportunity for you to win something this morning. You can win a spot in one of our Numberly Academy certificates. So for this, just scan the QR code, and you'll be taken to a place where you can register for a chance to win a spot in our upcoming certificates of your choice. Thank you very much.
Happy break, and go to the signing for your book. With this fireside chat you all have been so much waiting for, and I'm talking to the people remote who also had time for a small break. We're going to talk about building the future of entertainment-driven advertising, and who else could be who else could be a better speaker for this session than, of course, Damien Bernet, the VP EMEA of Netflix Ads. Welcome, Damien. How are you doing?
Merci, welcome.
Let's see it if you don't mind. We can see it. Maybe everyone will feel like coming back. So, Damien, I must say, the first thing I want to say really is that we're so glad to welcome you. And to be honest, I've been trying to have you for years on our events, and it never worked. So what brought you here today, Damien?
Yeah, first of all, really great to be here. Excited to be here, because I know you asked me, and I really was looking forward for this moment. I told Thibaut, it's not the time yet. We're not ready yet. But I can say now we are celebrating this week our 3rd year anniversary. So I took the job 3 years ago of leading the ads team for Netflix in Europe. It was early November 2022, and we had 0 revenue, 0 manpower, and I was on my own working with our partner Microsoft at the time. And the reason why we were not ready is we had to build the ad, and maybe that's something we're going to be able to talk about. Very exciting.
Yes. But we're so excited to have you with us for the first time. So just to make sure everyone understands, you are the VP for EMEA Advertising at Netflix. You've been working there for more than 5 years. You have an incredible insight, obviously, into this fascinating machine that is Netflix. You've handled the launch of Netflix advertising in key markets in Europe. It's been a fascinating journey that we all read in the news, and we're all customers, of course. And so I'm so thrilled to have you today. This is your first Data Collaboration Summit. I think it tells a lot about the importance of data collaboration. As you were saying, yesterday was a big day for you, Damien, because it was the 3rd anniversary of Netflix advertising, correct? So maybe we could have an update on the business.
Yeah, sure. Great. And I've been listening to the session before, very insightful. So I'm just going to tell you, we're going to make a bit of a pause in terms of talking about data measurement and MMM, etc. I will touch on it, but first of all, I want to come back on what's core for Netflix. And there's one thing which has not changed since I joined Netflix, is that we keep delivering the most beloved show on the planet. And that's really what's driving excitement for all of us at Netflix. When at the end of the day, because we create this excitement. One example I want to use is a UK show. I'm based here in London, Adolescence. I'm sure you've heard all about Adolescence. It's a great illustration of what only Netflix can do. Building a very local UK show, but that resonates in the world. We have more than 100 million viewers globally for that show. It got an Emmy Awards for the best screenwriter, Emmy Awards. Then we really with this show, we got this amazing ability to build a show locally, which travel globally. So again, coming back to that, and also we have the classic returning seasons. We had Wednesday, season 2, amazing global success, and we had also Squid Game coming back there.
All very excited. What has been your strategy for building the ads business in EMEA, and do you think you executed it perfectly?
Not perfectly, never perfect. There's so much still we need to do. The strategy, I would say, first of all, we've been listening to you. We've been listening to advertisers. We've been listening to media agencies because we wanted to build the advertising solution that was going to deliver impact and outcomes for you advertisers. So the first thing we heard, you need scale, right? At the beginning, I was saying I had 0 member. So how do we build scale? We have a fantastic machine with Netflix. We have more than 300 million members across the world, almost 1 billion viewers. So we just starting leveraging this with launching the ads plan. And I'm super proud, today, after 3 years, to tell you, I think I was reading the press this morning from Les Echos in France, and it says, Le pari est gagné, the bet is won. We've just announced 10 million unique viewers in France. Here in the UK, we have 12 million, according to Barb. And that's pretty amazing, driving from 0 to 12 here in the UK. And globally, we have 190 million viewers globally. So that's 0 to 190 in just 3 years' time. The additional thing is in terms of engagement. In the UK here, again, according to Barb, we have 19 hours of monthly engagement per viewer, which is the highest you can find in the streaming world, including broadcast video. You don't find that anywhere else. We are number 1. And in terms of viewing share, we have in the UK, for streaming with ads, we have 23% viewing share, which is, again, number 1. So scale has been a big priority. If you give me a minute.
Of course, I give you everything you want.
I know we've talked a lot. I've heard a lot about measurement. So I know you're all passionate about measurement, of course. That's the other thing we've heard from advertisers right at the beginning. They trust Netflix as a brand. They trust Netflix as an impact, but trust is not enough, right? Everyone wants a demonstration. Everyone wants a proof point. So we focused on 3 areas, really engagement, attention, and of course, you talked about it, incrementality. So engagement, I talked about it. It's across Europe, we have 39 hours per household per month. Again, the highest you can find in the streaming world. Attention, I give you an example from TVision. I don't know if you're familiar with TVision. TVision, they measure the attention level of our viewers. And it turns out that the level of attention of a given member of Netflix at the beginning of a show and 3 hours into the show is consistent, is the same. So that's a testament of the premium experience that we deliver at Netflix and, of course, the quality of the show. I think it does resonate very much for you as advertiser because our members at Netflix, they are super immersed in the show. They are super engaged, and they have an experience which is, again, our number 1 focus, to make sure they have the best experience and they stay engaged. And then, of course, they engage more with the ad. And lastly, incremental reach, I talk about a very simple case study. And again, for you guys, it's going to look very simple, very basic, but it does say about the potential. We worked with Vodafone in Germany. You know, the big telco, they have a lot of data, consumer first-party data. Vodafone shared with us their data about where their linear campaign are delivering in Germany. I'll take the example of Hamburg. the city of Hamburg, it was all red. Red meaning they can't reach people in Hamburg anymore because they don't watch much linear TV anymore. And then we looked at our own map. Where is Netflix ads delivering? And Hamburg turned out to be all green. So we did all red, all green. We did a campaign, and then we matched, and we found out 68% incremental reach for Netflix. And it's 2.4 times less expensive than having a linear TV campaign. So
I love this example. Thanks for explaining it so clearly, because I think, again, it's another type of data matching. We're not talking in that specific case of a perfect individual match. We're talking about matching maybe area zones and zip codes as far as gaining what Laetitia said in the beginning, new users, new members, new customers for Vodafone, and looking at the reach really, and measuring the incremental reach. This is, I think, a key topic for everyone, and again, one that can be generated by data collaboration. So thank you for this, Damien, really. You talked about reach, you talked about scale, you talked about engagement. Why don't you tell us a little bit now about your in-house ad tech stack that, if I'm correct, you launched this summer? And how has it worked with clients?
I think it's a great transition. What you just said, we are already able to demonstrate pretty tremendous incrementality with, to be honest, very basic methodology. So having our in-house ad tech is everything you've been talking about, everything you do, as especially you, the retailers, very, very data-driven. That tells a lot about the potential that we're going to be able to build with Netflix in terms of building our ad tech. We like to describe our methodology as crawl, walk, run. And we've been crawling for a few years, and we've been really happy to have great advertisers trusting Netflix, working with us to help us build the solution for the future. Now we are very much in the working phase with our own ad tech. I think there are a few benefits. I'll be brief. Don't worry. Like, one is speed of execution, of course. With our own ad tech, we don't depend on third party, so it's much quicker to go from pitch to pay with you and our clients. The other thing is, of course, innovation. Better, more precise targeting with all the first party signals we're getting from Netflix. We can do much better. We start working with data cleanroom. Alexa is here. I don't know. LiveRamp.
Oh, yes, she's definitely here. She's speaking. I hope she is, because she's speaking in a few minutes now.
She's taking a break. But anyway, so we've talked already about all the potential. The simple case study I described with Vodafone, let's imagine how we can scale that if we go more granular in data and more precise, thanks to data cleanroom. So that tells a lot. Same for measurements. We can do a lot more with our own cleanroom. And lastly speaking, really easy to buy. I know you mentioned with Amazon the easy to buy.
Yes,
that's really
I was going to ask, because you recently expanded your programmatic partners with Yahoo and Amazon. Stan is here and listening to what you're going to say about this. Can you tell us a bit more about your programmatic strategy, Damien?
Yeah, Stan is here, so I'm going to control myself. Yeah, we talked about it. Like, I got the usual question from journalists: why are you working with your competitor? Like, I see Amazon as a partner. Like, I think we are growing our business. Of course, we are competing, but we are also working on growing the pie and growing the efficacy of advertising. So our objective is really, again, listening to our clients to make sure we are where they want us to be. We've heard so much from you, advertisers and clients, like, the landscape is so complex. I mean, you have to be a very smart engineer to understand all of these things. So our goal is to make sure that, where we are today, we give you the ability to make us easy to buy. And then we want to expand the number of brands. And there are some brands that are only going to buy Netflix if we are present on DV360 or Trade Desk or Amazon DSP.
Yeah, I mean, if I can say anything from the brand's perspective. After working 25 years with them, they need to be able to be in charge. They need some kind of self-serve. They need some kind of ability to measure, to target. That's really key. So
and simplicity.
So keep that in mind whenever you make your ad tech choices. We'll be here to remind, to be sometimes the voice of the brands, but really, thanks for bringing this to the table. I think Netflix is part of the consumer landscape on a daily basis, 19 hours a month, you said, for your customers, and there are so many of them. Netflix had to be part of the data collaboration topic, so today is a big day, we believe, also for us. We had a question, because you said, and you talked about the great content you create at Netflix. Can you share maybe a little bit how you can leverage this in order to better connect brands with your IP?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing that clients have been asking us. They were so excited about Netflix and our shows and the ability to get a part of our fandom. The fandom is so, when you do marketing, it's something so hard to capture, right? And they see, and I could talk for a long time about how we create this fandom and this very specific, creative system at Netflix. Anyway, I think being able to connect your brands with our fandom is something that has been the most exciting stuff for advertisers right from the beginning. I have to say it's not going to be the largest part of my business, so I have to make sure that I'm also super good in terms of measurement, targeting. This is where I'm going to make more money. But clearly, brand partnership is huge, especially for larger advertisers. We see some results. I mean, the research is very, very clear. We see research demonstrating that 70% of Gen Z and millennials are more likely to buy a product which has been advertised next to a big show, a tentpole. An example, K-pop Demon Hunter, that is an absolute global phenomenon. I don't know if you watch it. It's really exciting. I do recommend. The soundtrack of
people in this room, they work a lot, so you need to also understand that we don't have 100% of our free time to spend on Netflix.
Or listen to the song on Spotify. It's number one on Spotify. Actually, it's been number one for quite a number of weeks. It's higher than Taylor Swift, so it means a lot to me and to us.
Well, wait for the end, because we have a surprise regarding Taylor Swift, I'm telling you.
All right, okay.
I wanted to finish this, Damien, with asking you, because we're already in the red, as you can see.
We started in the red, man.
Almost. Well, you are red, kind of, no? What is exciting you and your team, Damien?
I'm yellow on the Discovery Insight, if you want to know. I don't know if you know Discovery Insight. Yeah. I'm not red.
My question was, you don't listen to me, Damien.
Yeah, that's my yellow. Yeah, that's because I'm yellow.
I mean, of course we're going to be in red if you don't listen to the questions. You already perfectly know.
We are in the red. Let's go deep in the red.
Okay, who cares about the question? What is exciting you, Damien, for the future? I'm sure you have some announcement to share.
Yeah, no, so many things are exciting. I'm not going to announce you our next big tentpole and on content, but
thank you.
Stranger Things final season is going to be absolutely stunning and amazing. You're going to see
You've seen it already?
I haven't. My CEO has seen it, and it's chartered rule here.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my CEO told me he was crying. So
we're all ready.
It was. I mean, it's going to be an amazing final. And I can tell you the amount of brand we have involved is incredible. And we are doing it in a very Netflix way, in a very authentic way. Stranger Things is built into the 80s. So, for example, I'm not going to work with a brand who wasn't present in the 80s. So that's the sort of thing that Netflix does to make sure that we keep true to the show. And we do work with the screenwriters, the Duffer brothers. We want to make sure that they believe in it. If I go back to advertising, because at the end of the day, business is business. I'm so excited about the ad tech platform and everything it brings for innovation and for you, for advertiser, all the solutions. And the last bit I want to mention, we manage now. I know it's 2 minutes over, 70 minutes. I didn't mention AI. Wow, is that a miss?
Good
so
job.
I'll mention Gen AI. The one thing we are working actively on is actually we are testing right now in the US is we've created a Gen AI tool where we take the asset of a brand, right? And we take the assets of, let's say, a show like Stranger Things. We connect the asset with Gen AI, and we have the ability to create new creatives. And what it means is on your question on brand partnership, so far, I've been able to do like 2 maximum per show. And of course, I don't have like 10 polls per month. But with this, I can have multiple brands involved and connected to any show. So that creates a lot of potential.
Wow. Okay, so we can't wait. Damien, thank you. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
All right, that was the Netflix break. Thank you so much, Damien. And we are moving to our last panel before the final fireside chat. I'm thrilled to welcome to the stage Laure and Luca, who will be hosting our next 3 guest speakers, Petros, Alexia, and George.
Hello, hello. Wow, what a rich morning. Thank you for having this new panel. And this panel will focus on clean rooms. We have talked a lot about clean rooms and retail media networks to open the box. And we have 3 amazing expert speakers. So Petros, maybe first you. You have a rich background between agency and brands. And now you are the media director at L'Oréal UK. So I'm sure you will have a lot to tell about that. Welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Petros. And I think we are finishing our roundtables with the most remote roundtable guests because Alexia, you are originally from Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And with more than 5 years at Axiom and more than 8 years at LiveRamp, where you're now VP Brands UK and MEA, you are an absolute expert in data platform and audience solutions. So welcome, Alexia.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Lovely to be here.
And your neighbor is also a neighbor on the other side of the world because, George, you come from New Zealand. Welcome, George Coslet. You are now also based in the UK, and you are innovation director for the last months at Boots, so retailer, Boots Media Group. You will tell us also about the exciting things you do. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with some UK trends to set the stage on this key topic of clean rooms and retail media network. Maybe Alexia, first, as you are part of the infrastructure, you can tell us a bit about the state of data collaboration in the UK.
Thank you, Luca. Okay, so anyone that knows me knows that I normally talk in 3s. So let me talk about the 3 key trends that we see as LiveRamp as the infrastructure and very much at the center of the ecosystem of collaboration. I would say the first is there is a very maniacal focus on outcomes, transparency, and accountability. And what that translates into from a data collaboration point of view is measurement. And what we're seeing around measurement, I think a lot of the panelists spoke about this before, is a movement away from campaign-based lower funnel up into things that really matter around incrementality and those business outcomes that are really important to a CFO, whether it's around category, market share, lifetime value of a customer. So I'd say that's trend number 1. And in order to support that measurement, the second trend is becoming really prominent, and that's the emergence of commerce media. And so, you had Paul up here speaking about Uber. You've got other partners as PayPal starting to expand their commerce media, and these guys support really robust measurement and transactional data across a wide variety of verticals. And so that's becoming really important, being able to measure with great quality data. And I think Damien mentioned this before, and I wasn't listening, but we do have a partnership with Netflix, so thank you, Damien. And so that's, aligning this really quality transactional data with high quality inventory is super important. And this is where CTV is coming into play, and that matters because you can drive the accountability in a very known space. So when consumers are logging in and you have that transactional data, you can connect that. And the third thing I would say is after GDPR, we saw a lot of focus on first-party data. Now, L'Oreal was one of the biggest drivers of their first-party data strategy, and it will continue to be a really engaging and important part of the customer journey. But we're also seeing a resurgence and an openness to collaboration with third-party vendors. So if I want to be able to understand a lot more about my customer, what drives them, what are their behaviors, we are also seeing a resurgence around third-party data. So to summarize, 1, measurement incrementality, 2, commerce media and the acceleration of new channels, and 3, openness to collaboration of third-party data coming back into the industry.
Thank you so much, Alexia. The market is in evolution, and so L'Oréal, you're, I think, a great contributor. So what is your analysis of those trends?
So for me, I think the one that really stands out, I completely agree, obviously. There's no question about it. But what I have noticed in terms of like a trend as an advertiser and having been on the agency side as well, is that the kind of like the openness to collaboration is the one that I've seen the biggest shift on, because previously it was all about working in silos, getting like, you know, the first party data. There's a bit of like a hesitance of sharing. Whereas now, and I can see that from us as well, from a L'Oréal perspective, there's much more openness in like sharing data. I see the same trend coming from like the retailer side, because I think it comes without saying like there's a lot of like benefits on for both parties. So I think that's the main one. And then yeah, again, I don't want to repeat what Alex said already, but the measurement is also big. The evolution on that front. Because you can so easily get lost in all the data and the insights and spend hours and hours, but leading nowhere. So you need to be very kind of like focused on that front. And we now have better kind of like metrics to actually do that exercise to then make more informed decisions as a business.
Thank you so much. George, retailers are playing the game.
Yeah, I think obviously agree with what both Alexa and Petros have said. From a retailer perspective, I think the largest trends we're seeing is the rise of offsite. So obviously in-store has been massive, but there is limitations in the scale that can drive. On-site the same. So what we've seen is the retailers that are building or developing their own offsite propositions and really a lot of investment into that space. So retail media networks that don't have them are creating them, and retail media networks that do have them are investing a lot of resource and money into them. Off the back of that, the second one that I would say is the blurring of lines, and Stain talked about it, I think Paul talked about it as well, and I couldn't agree more. Retail media hopefully will no longer be called retail media. I think we'd love to see a world where it is just media. And with that, you start to see the arrival of brand budgets and moving away from traditional shopper or retail budgets. The emergence of agencies kind of coming into the space as well, and the above the line or traditionally above the line campaigns being fueled by a lot of these retailer data. And then finally, because of that, I think we're seeing a shift away from hard performance metrics all the time. So starting to understand, Leticia talked about it earlier, around like new to brand rates and understanding more like brand equity and how it's kind of transforming a brand rather than just short-term sales numbers as well.
Thank you, George. Thanks for these enlightening visions. We're now going to talk about journeys, because data collaboration is a journey. It's a journey for brands, it's a journey for retailers, it's a journey for partners. So we'd be really curious to hear more about your journey. And maybe to start with you, Petros, at L'Oréal. What has been and what is your current data collaboration and cleanroom journey?
Yeah, so it's definitely been an evolution. I think kind of like the first step was to really get our house in order in terms of like the first party data that we have, because obviously it's not just about the quantity, it's about the quality of it. So I think we've been working over the last few years to make sure that we have like a very robust consumer database. You know, we're investing also in stuff like beauty tech, and different services that actually can give us even more insights about the consumer needs, the desires, behaviors, that again, we just constantly fuel that database to enrich it as much as possible. So that was the first thing that we did. And then obviously, as I mentioned earlier about the collaboration, is about how we work with key retailers and seeing what the opportunities are from a growth perspective, whether that's addressing kind of like new audience segments like male consumers, because I think at the beginning we focused a lot on analyzing and creating these audience segments based on our data, but obviously it's a no-brainer that if you enrich that with external databases, you will only kind of deliver better results. So that's quite where we are right now. And we're expanding, of course, outside retail and beauty. We're talking quick commerce. We're talking about other partners as well, which I think is super, super exciting.
Thank you. And so I guess in this journey, Boots has a special place as well.
Absolutely.
So from your perspective, George, what is the journey for Boots as a retail media network?
Yeah, I think for Boots, like I talked about earlier, we kind of started from a BMG perspective 4 years ago. And in that time, we really focused on partnerships and events as kind of our core to start with. In-store was a big focus. We moved into on-site with kind of the move of COVID. I think the Boots website has had a lot more traffic in the last few years than it ever probably expected to have. And that's really kind of changed the business and how that works. And then now we're moving into the off-site world and kind of trying to make sure that, as Petros said, the organizational structure of our data is in the position to do that. So we're working really hard on making sure that we're really lucky at Boots with the richness of the data that we have. Like the ad card is just an amazing kind of opportunity and offer into market. And I know that consumers, like speak really highly of it and the connection that they have with Boots. What that gives us is such a depth and breadth of data, and now it's all about how can we organize that and activate it, and then use it for measurement, but in a privacy-safe way because of the trust that's placed within Boots and that consumer data. So that's why, yeah, lucky to work with both people on stage with me to kind of activate that.
Great. So Petros, you mentioned that. Of course, you have a strong partnership with Boots, but from a general standpoint, what do you expect from your data collaboration and cleanroom partners, such as Boots, but also many others, and also more specifically, how do you work with self-service versus managed models?
Great question. So what do we expect? I think to put it simply, it's transparency, flexibility, and then obviously to prove there's clear business value to that. To kind of like answer the first part of the question, I think when it comes to the self-serve kind of like a managed service, it's a kind of like a very hot topic for us, because obviously self-serve is like the sweet spot, right? Because it gives us as an advertiser more control. We can have like our data scientists doing like their own kind of like digging for insights. There's a lot of value in terms of like getting kind of like any metrics that we're interested in. But yeah, I can understand like from a retail perspective, there might be a bit of hesitance. And that's why it's really important to work very closely on that topic. To create the right kind of like user interfaces within the tools that are used to do this. Obviously, privacy and security is paramount because we're dealing with sensitive data, and especially if you bring in the media agency into that. But definitely self-serve is the preferred way to go. Obviously, you need to upskill the teams to be able to know what they should be looking for. And in terms of like the transparency, flexibility, and the clear business value, the other thing that I would say is like what we always kind of like look for is kind of like having that curiosity and like pushing for the innovation. Like, as you know, I think probably Letitia would have mentioned that we always like pushing boundaries, and it can be a bit scary at times because obviously privacy comes into play, etc. But having that same kind of like mindset, it's quite important, and we're quite lucky actually. Not saying just because we're sharing the stage, but like with Boots, obviously there's a very long like term partnership there that like enables us to an extent to do that.
Thank you, Petros. It's really fascinating how brands are accelerating on this topic and how the partnership between brands and retailers are evolving very fast from trade and negotiation to collaboration. And so maybe, George, you can explain us how you navigate in this change of paradigm, and so how you provide elements and data and transparency to your partners, so how you address those expectations, but you still are able to navigate this line, and it's not easy. So what are you able to provide to your partners very concretely? what KPIs, what data?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, right? And anyone that solves that one, I think, will be in a very good position over the next few years. But yeah, from a Boots perspective, like I kind of mentioned earlier, we have that richness. We know how valuable it is, but we are seen not just like a grocer and things like that. And the customer perception of Boots is different because of that. So as an innovation director, I kind of see the opportunity and really want to dive in and kind of explore those boundaries, as Petros was talking about earlier. But it's about doing it the Boots way, so making sure that we're going through the right channels, that all our data is privacy safe, and the partnership with LiveRamp is a big part of that, and that's obviously why we've gone into that and why we've kind of continued that over the past few years. They allow us to house that data in the right way, to anonymize it in the correct way, to activate it privacy safe, and then measure off the back of it. So I would say from a data collaboration space, that's where Boots is kind of focusing on. And then to answer your question around KPIs, this might be my agency background leaning in a bit, and I'm still new to the world of retail, but I definitely want to push away from just pure performance indicators. There's obviously a role for ROAS, there's obviously a role for ROI, but I think that retail media should and could do a lot more than that. We're seeing the likes of CTV and ITV and C4 and people like that starting to activate. And when you're talking about those environments, the KPIs need to change as well, because the consumer expectation and the role of those touch points is different. So we're doing a lot of work to understand what KPIs matter to our partners, what KPIs matter to us, and then how we can build out and work together to get that kind of measurement framework.
Thank you so much. So, Alexia, maybe it's the time to enter and open the box. You are representing LiveRamp. You are unlocking all this world of potentialities between brands and retailers. Can you show us a use case, an example of application of what a clean room and data collaboration can help unlock between those partners?
Yeah, of course. Okay, before we kind of maybe get into the presentation, let me set the scene a little bit. So a lot of the retailers of the last 2-3 years have invested really heavily in their on-site owned and operated media, which allows for commercialization of those assets and for brands to extract value. Now we're seeing an evolution into offsite, which, as George mentioned before, is becoming even more important and a growing trend. And why it's important for the brands sitting in the room is if you think about your media plan overall, it doesn't just factor the on-site of a retailer. There has a lot of factoring on the off-site. So whether it's Meta or Facebook, or Meta is Facebook, so too many name changes, Pinterest and the social and the CTV, it's really important that there is a breadth of opportunity there to support your media plans. And so if you think about on-site and off-site, the challenges that exist there are normally operated by two differing vendors. So in our case, in Boots, it's Criteo, and we run off-site as LiveRamp. They are two differing sets of audiences. There are two differing touch points in terms of purchase. One happens on e-commerce and one happens in store. And so if you're a brand or if you're a consumer, how do you ensure the most effective way to drive the audience strategy and customer journey and that measurement? And so what we set out to do with BMG, Criteo, and ourselves was find a way to unify that and understand the result of that omni-channel approach. And so this test that we did here, and this is what I love BMG, is George has a title of Innovation Director, which is what you don't normally see, which is great that we can trial these things. So what we were really focused on is how can we drive a unified audience strategy across those on-site and off-site channels, and how do we deliver the measurement across that. So if I could just ask to switch to the next slide. This is a bit of a schematic on how we manage this test and hypothesis and the end results of that. So Boots have a very strong Advantage card, club card program, and BMG are the supporter of that, and they drive a lot of the strategy around those audiences. And so the starting point was being able to find a core audience set that could be unified across these two challenges. So the BMG team set up that strategy and the audiences. They then utilise those audiences across Criteo to support on-site activity and across LiveRamp to support off-site activity. And those customers were driven to the outlets across e-commerce and store. And in order to be able to measure that, we utilised our cleanroom technology to bring in the Criteo exposure data from a media standpoint, to bring in the transactional data from Boots across both their e-com and store, and then be able to measure the effectiveness of that. And the output of that was a 22% increase on ROAS when we looked at the overarching connection between the offline and on-site retail media. And that's a really exciting opportunity for Boots, because not only does it show a unified measurement strategy, but it also can measure some of the halo effects that the on-site media of these retailers are driving into other channels. And so that's a use case that we have from our side in terms of how collaboration can help bring multiple data sets together and deliver value.
Thank you, Alexia. I think we have a clearer understanding on how you can work with retailers such as Boots. Maybe from your perspective, George, what is your vision regarding data clean rooms? How has it impacted your business, maybe your organization, the way you deal with clients? Tell us more.
Yeah, I think obviously Petros and Letitia have talked about it as one of our key partners in terms of that collaboration of data, both from their side and from the retailer side as well. Now, just speaking honestly, there's obviously lots of difficulties to that, and one of them is scale, one of them is speed of access. So yeah, my personal vision is really seeing a world where we can bring that in easier, starting to collaborate within those privacy safe spaces, which is obviously critical, and then with the end goal of building both parties, right? So yes, it's about driving sales for L'Oreal, but it's about driving sales for all of our partners, but it's about driving sales for Boots as well. So how do we use this data collaboration to build both parties and to drive kind of progress within that space? So yeah, personally, I think like we're making the right steps towards it. It is a slow progress, I would say, but yeah, from a Boots side, I think it's about how we can kind of work really key with our key partners in order to build kind of both parties up.
It's really exciting times, I think, in this field of clean rooms and data collaboration. Maybe we want to come back to one slide because we have great partners here, and no, it's the next slide, but we already showed this slide before, but we want to insist on that because I think L'Oreal, Colgate, they are here with Hills representing on this slide. They are setting the North Star of maybe where the market is going with this question of clean rooms and data collaboration in data ecosystems. And I think it's maybe a moment where we are going also to see a convergence between innovation, where you can create a lot of possibilities because ultimately the companies now have access to the granular data, but also scale and delivery. We are talking a lot about business impact. And I think, I mean, we can see it with L'Oreal and Colgate. They are really proving that they can move the lines on huge media budgets, but not only media and marketing, but also the partnership, the trade partnerships. And so we really think at Numberly and with our great partners here that it takes a village, yes, to embark on this journey, but it is highly necessary. We were talking during the break with many of you on what is needed to start this journey. And so maybe to conclude on that, I think we will have the best advice on maybe from you, Alexia, first, how to get started. So maybe you have some tips on how to get started and maybe get there.
Yeah, good question, Luca, how to get started. So obviously, the Hills example here didn't start with 10 sort of partners around that. So my first advice to kind of any brand or partners is you already have a natural partner ecosystem around your business. You work with them today in many differing ways, and data collaboration should only be an evolution of that partnership. So firstly, map out the partners that you have around you. The second thing I would say is select one or two partners that are the most meaningful and define your use cases and define your business outcomes first. Once you have done that, then go on the journey of finding the right vendor, the legal process, all the data privacy checks that you need to do. And I would really advise that you start in that order because I've seen many cases where people flip that around. They will start with trying to find the right technology and going through those processes. And if you haven't defined the use case or the outcomes, what ends up happening is this sense of disillusionment that the technology doesn't work, data collaboration is too hard, and it can't scale. But I think if you flipped it on the other way and said, let's find the right partners, find the right outcomes, deliver those use cases, and work collaboratively together and openly and strategically, not tactically, then I think there's a really great opportunity for what we believe can scale to scale.
If I may add,
Yeah,
because I completely agree. I think it's very important to be very strategic about the partners, right? Because it's not just about collaborating just for the sake of it. So completely agree. I think the second thing again is about the show. Don't just tell. So create a business case, because you will need to show the clear impact on the KPIs and like what does this deliver for the business, to have the conversations with finance, the marketing teams, and everyone that gets involved. And I think if I just wanted to add, I think the privacy, navigating that, because it's paramount. Like you need to become besties with like legal and your DPO. It might not be the most exciting kind of like part of it, but if you take them with you on the journey and what does this mean then further down for the business, rather than introducing them later on, can unlock a lot of things and speed things up. And then the last thing that I mentioned earlier as well is about finding those partners as well that are willing to experiment, because some of these territories are pretty unknown yet in terms of like what you want to do, because then you will have the conversations like we have with Boots, and we were like, okay, we want to see X, Y, Z from a measurement perspective, etc. So it's quite important to get that right, I'd say, just to add.
Thank you so much. You preceded the closing question, and maybe just to insist on some key words that were maybe reconciling all of us this morning. We are talking very often with Heels, Colgate, and with you, L'Oréal, of learning agenda, so learning, but also shared learning agenda. And shared learning agenda, I think it's a key perspective of when you are sitting with your partners on a yearly strategic business development plan, a retailer or a publisher. You talk about what you can put on the table, not only in terms of price, in terms of products, but also maybe in terms of data. So data is just another currency to build value together. So it's the topic of everyone now. It's not only the topic of tech people or marketing people, but it's the topic of everyone. Thank you. Thanks a lot to all of you. Maybe we have some time for one question or a reaction of the audience, or remote. Yeah, we have one. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering, actually, what do you think that clean rooms will push in terms of, for the marketers, like to move from an individual targeting to a more ecosystem-based strategies?
Do you want me to take that question? So the whole idea with clean rooms, and particularly the way that LiveRamp likes to look at it. So where LiveRamp started from is we are an ecosystem and business where we, for the longest time of the last decade, built a network to allow data to come from an offline space, whether you have emails, in-store sales, and activate that into a media space. So whether it's on-site, whether it's with DSP, SSPs, or across the wall gardens, that is the legacy in where LiveRamp has its kind of a depth in. And so when we set out to build cleanroom technology and our acquisition of Habu, these are the two worlds that we tried to bring together. One is allow the infrastructure to provide the collaboration in a very secure way to ensure that data movement is minimized in line with any privacy regulations, but also ensure that we have the network above and beyond that. And so that is how we are trying to solve that piece. So where the clean room can help you is to build those one-on-one relationships. Where the network comes into play is to help you scale that out. And what's fantastic about a lot of the clean room technology and where we're trying to evolve is it's not just a box that you just throw data in. We are working really hard to create what we define as templates that allow for use cases to be standardized across many places, whether it's retailers, whether it's wall gardens. And so there are three layers to this acceleration. One, the technology that allows you to feel safe about collaborating. Two, the time to market reduction through templatization. And then three, the network to help you scale that.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you for the great question. We are okay? The last one? Yeah, the last one. Thank you.
Hi, George. I have a question for you more as from a retailer perspective. Obviously, you deal with giants like L'Oréal and other smaller independent business. All of those opportunities sound amazing, but nearly feels like they are only for the big guys. So as the innovation director, is this something you also keep in the back of your mind on how you are you actually considering working with smaller independent business that don't necessarily bring the same thing on the table as L'Oréal?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not just a solution for, say, the big players and things like that. I think one of, at least what I've seen, talking about our offsite proposition, for example, I think it could actually be argued that it's more beneficial for the smaller players. It gives you the opportunity to be a lot more targeted, a lot more strategic with how you show up, and you can get a lot more impact from necessarily not the size of the media budgets. So yeah, from my perspective, I think that data targeting and data collaboration can be potentially even more impactful for smaller scale businesses and things, because yeah, it allows you to play without necessarily just the largest budgets within the market.
All right. If we don't have any additional questions, I think we will finish this session. Thank you so much to the three of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this amazing panel. And I think, sorry. Yes, it's time for the final one. Please, Sorin, if you could come. Oh, you brought water. Amazing. Please, let's, join me. Thank you, Sorin. We're going to wrap up this morning with the last thing before some refreshments. So, Sorin, it's nice.
It's more comfortable, the blue one.
Ah, it's nice
yeah,
one, huh?
Yeah, nice.
At some point, you had to experience the blue one. You know? How is your wrist after signing all these books, Sorin?
It's
You're a professional.
I mean, if anyone wants to go on Amazon and buy another book, I would be gladly to sign it in the next hour or so. I'm sure Amazon delivers within an hour in Shoreditch. No, Stan? Yeah, so it's available. It's everywhere. Oh la la, you made some notes there.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about this. If you didn't have this orange spot on your seat, don't worry. As Sorin said, first of all, I will ask a couple of key questions. And second, you can test Amazon. So, Sorin, as an introduction about your book, and maybe also, please, about this whole morning, because you were here, you were always with us, and thank you for your insightful comments and questions. Maybe to start with about this marketing effectiveness, which you define. I put the, I think, sorry, this is it. You define a process for measuring the success of marketing activities based on the desired business outcomes. A complex concept that touches on all aspects of brand building. Wow.
Complicated.
Yeah. So you write that it's often confused with advertising effectiveness. So maybe you can help us, differentiate media effectiveness, which lots of us are often talking about, and marketing effectiveness, which is the title of your book.
So just to make sense of this quote, I would say, I really believe that as marketeers, we need to have a voice that's louder in the boardroom. And we can only have a louder voice if we speak the language of the boardroom, if we speak the language of the CEOs and CFOs. And their language is not necessarily related to retail media, ROAS, and anything that is executional, I would say. Their language is about business impact, revenue generated, profit, and so on. So my attempt with this book is to elevate a conversation that's happening very much in at events, on LinkedIn, on various kind of industry get-togethers, where we love to talk about media, and we love to talk about creative as well. But in fact, we should talk about the totality of the marketing activities. What Kotler used to call the 4 Ps, we tend to forget them and go all the way straight to communication, because in large organizations, that's the only thing that's left for us to do. Pricing is now part of the finance team. R&D is developing the new product. Strategy is sometimes coming straight from the CEO. And the only place where we can really add value is communication. But that's not everything. And I'm sure, I believe a lot of people in the room have run market mix models and know what's the percentage of sales that could be easily attributed to media. Anyone can have a guess? Ramla is not allowed to talk. It's 10%. 10%. So we're actually trying to optimize 10% of the total impact that you can have on your brand. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to change repertoire and all the other elements. It comes with a larger investment, of course, but I'm just trying to raise a little bit the lens to ensure that we really talk about all the conversations that we need to have when we talk about marketing.
So basically what you're saying is we've been talking for 3 hours about something that is completely unuseful?
Not necessarily, because luckily what we're talking about is the only lever that you can pull that has a long-term impact on the brand. We've done lots of research with my old company around understanding the short-term impact, but also the long-term impact, like 3+ years. And media has come up consistently as the only lever that has both the short-term and the long-term impact. So yes, promotions can give you like something in the short term, but media is the only one that will build your brand. So it's a small but very, very energizing part.
Thank you, Sorin. I like that. Maybe you want to share a bit about the slides you brought?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, when we're talking about, we also tend to put media and creative in the same cap, and I'm trying to separate them here. And this is an extract from the book in which I'm trying to explain what's the path from the screen to the mind of the consumer, and what kind of elements can you play in order to optimize that path. And if you want to talk to a guru that can really talk about this path extremely well, Laurie Sommer here in the audience. She was part of my team at Mars, and she's leading now Mars Effectiveness on Creative Excellence, and she can really talk for hours about this. But what we built together was an amazing solution that was around optimizing for attention, finding out what's the right level of emotions, and ensuring that the memory is encoded in a simple way. And if those 3 wheels work in sync, then you can build the brand into the mind of the consumers. And if you test that continuously on your creative messages, you will get better.
Yeah, so thank you, because what I loved about your book really is that it's like taking a step back, and we really realize that, you know, whatever we're working on, we're all extremely focused, and sometimes we kind of forget the big things we learned a few years ago about marketing, and however, you know, focused we are, we should never forget the rest of the picture, which as you said is so critical.
And it also feels that if you open LinkedIn or if you go to any conference, it feels like we have all the answers. It feels like there's information and insights across every single lever that you can pull. I think what's sometimes missing, and especially in large organizations, is how to translate that insights into a decision, how to move people behind the cause in the organization. I think it's easy to measure incrementality of retail media. It's much harder to convince the CFO that based on that you need to move money from that player to another player.
I wouldn't say the first one is easy, but I agree the second one
I'm
is
expecting you
even harder.
to solve that.
Yeah, thank you. Working on it, definitely. No, but yeah, I completely agree with you on this. You had another thing, I think, here.
Yeah, this is my view that I think we are a little bit biased when we talk about marketing effectiveness by the thought leaders or the influencers that we find in our feed. And usually those influencers are either academics or more probably they are companies, research companies that are selling you a creative measurement solution. So System 1, Kantar, Ipsos, they're everywhere and they're trying to sell you a better way to measure creative, while in fact they should try to sell you a better way to measure the total marketing effectiveness, which is much more than creative, and that's what I'm trying to visualize here.
To be honest, and I hope you got that feeling because it's your first Data Collab Summit, Sorin, we really try here to foster innovative ideas. We know what we don't know, and I think we're very fine with not putting too much emphasis on technologies because I agree with you. Very often the tech vendors, there's also a good reason why conferences talk about so much about tech because they have the money, they organize the conference. That's why, just to mention here, you have no sponsor. And it's free for the audience, but it's invitation only. So
yeah, and I think the perspective of a brand was very present throughout the day. I mean, I love the first session was, I mean, someone was drooling over me in front row. I don't know if you remember, but it's true that we want the kind of things that L'Oreal built. I mean, I think if we're honest to ourselves, every brand in CPG would want to be like L'Oreal. And to see it so clearly visualized there, it's fantastic. And I think you've helped them build that, so well done.
We'll help you, Sorin, if you insist. Okay, zooming
at
in.
a good price.
Zooming in a little bit and talking about media effectiveness, you have another quote in your book, which we love, to be honest, at Number. It says, all KPIs are metrics, but not all metrics are KPIs. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on this and with your experience at Mars and Pepsi?
Sure. So the difference between KPI and metrics is very clear to me. A KPI is anything that you measure that has a direct impact on your business outcome. So think of if you're a publicly listed company, you would put a KPI in your annual report. You would not put a metric in your annual report necessarily. A metric is a proxy, is an input data that helps you optimize whatever tactic you're having there. Think of it as engagement, likes, comments, and so on. But the number of comments do not correlate with your business outcome. So I was very lucky at Mars to build together with the team there and with the CMOs there a culture of effectiveness that was focused on business outcomes. The only way we measure creative excellence, media excellence, pricing excellence was through the lens of incremental sales. The idea of penetration as the main driver of growth was very much ingrained in the organization. So everything that we tried to do was to increase penetration. And I was very, very pleased to see when I joined Pepsico 5 months ago that the thinking is exactly the same. So I think the Byron Sharp kind of like aura has been very well casted across multiple organizations. So yeah, I think there's a role for metrics. There's a role for metrics in optimization of smaller scale tactics, but if you're only focusing on metrics, you're losing the conversation to the boardroom.
Superb. Talking about data, Sorin, you heard that a lot. I know you think we talk a little bit too much about it, maybe, but I like what you said in the book, which is use data to strengthen your expertise, but not to replace it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a clear fight in. I mean, I was part of the consumer insights organizations to be very clear at Mars, and most of the research we've done was to learn. However, there was also some research done to basically prove a senior leader right. And I think that's where I came up with this kind of framework around marketing effectiveness that. It needs to be ABC, it has to be actionable. In other sense, you should not do any kind of measurement if you're not going to make a change or make a decision based on that measurement. It should be behavioral because we know that when we do surveys, we tend to want to finish that survey and don't really care about what we answer. By the way, a show of hands, who actually in the room answered a brand survey in the last month? Okay, so pretty like 33%. So I personally am not a fan of survey when it comes to assessing creative quality and media choices. I'm much more I'm much more trying to get to the behaviors that people are changing after exposing to that execution. So that's why my entire measurement philosophy when it comes to media and creative is around behavioral measurement. And the last point here is that I believe very much in trying to find causality. We're making too many decisions based on correlations, and we all know that correlation is not causality. And the only way you can have a causal relationship if you run an A/B test, a randomized control test, and there's no other option. So yes, you will make some decisions based on correlations, you will make some hypotheses, but if you really want the goal through, try to always aim for causality.
So you question attitudinal measures, but are you, in like a post-attitudinal behavioral engineer lost in the marketing space?
I don't think I'm lost. I hope so. At least I don't feel like I'm lost. But no, I've read a lot of academic papers that told me that we are subject to a lot of biases. I mean, those of you who have read anything around behavioral sciences are clear that we as humans, as people, we are not really crafted to basically answer logically what we really feel. So trying to get through different kind of research methods to the behavior, to the feeling, I'm expanding here to ethnographic research and all kind of things, will get you in a better state than asking a survey over a mobile phone. Am I controversial here?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think I wanted to, maybe because we're almost out of time, I wanted to ask you about Byron Sharp and Peter Fader, because Byron Sharp, obviously, you refer to him in his famous book, How Brands Grow, insists a lot on the value of availability, mental, physical, and the value of acquiring new to brands, like Laetitia said in the beginning, on growing the reach really, and he dismisses, let's put it that way,
100%.
Loyalty. But what we saw this morning also with Laetitia is that it's very important, loyalty as well, and it can be impacted. So how do you solve this contradiction?
So I'm a very curious person, and I was very lucky to have been trained by both of these amazing people. I've done an executive education at Wharton with Pete, and also I've been brainwashed at Mars with Byron Sharp. And what I learned from both of them is that we're always trying to find the solution, while in fact your brand, your company, has to play somewhere between the spectrum of these two ideas. Selling walkers or Lays is very different than selling the Hoxton hotel that I stayed last night. So it really depends on the category that you're playing, understanding that category and the drivers of that category, understanding the reasons why people buy into that category will make you adapt your strategies and not go to the extremes. I find that especially Byron goes to the extreme to make a point, and I think he does it very well. But I think the reality, the non-academic practitioner reality, is somewhere in the middle. So at Mars, we've balanced both of them, very much skewed towards reach-based planning, but from snacking in the chocolate categories. But in pet care, for example, where they had large veterinary services practices, hospitals, and services organization. The need to build a customer lifetime value, and the tools that we were using there were very much from the thinking of Pete Fader.
If I may, sorry to challenge a little bit what you're saying, I think also when Byron Sharp wrote his great book, there was no clean room, no retailer clean room, and and therefore you could not really measure the loyalty in the CPG space. We can do it now. We can measure CLV in the CPG space. And what we see is, consumers are not created equal in the CPG space regarding, how much they buy and shop from a specific brand. So, and we also see that by targeting them, by avoiding the people who have zero likelihood to purchase or who already purchase 100% of the time, by focusing on those movable middles, we can actually improve somehow a little bit and measure the loyalty. But happy to discuss that.
I mean, I agree with you, but inside large organizations, the amount of time that you can get from a senior leader is very small. And the beauty of the approach from Byron Sharp is that it's very pointed and very easy to explain. And it's simple to execute by mass media and YouTube and so on. So I think that's where he basically won a little bit. We need to find a way to simplify the complexity of like...
Agreed. 100%. Do we have questions in the room? It's time for questions, otherwise we're in the red. Yes, Ramla. Thank you, Morgan, so much.
Thank you, Sorin, for all those explanations. Just talking about myths, there are 3 myths that I have read in the book that I want your opinion on, Sorin. First one is brand love. Second one, you touch a little bit on it, which is brand tracking and your beliefs when it comes to brand tracking. And the third point is this one, the customer centricity versus the growth. Because from the book, we understand that you believe in growth more than you believe in customer centricity. At least that was my reading.
Yes. So the question is, if I believe in brand love, or
I know your opinion, but so when I read it, so
Share
I
the
just
love.
Exactly. I wanted to know. I know that you're not a strong believer.
So
of
I mean,
neither
first
of
of
the
all,
three.
my opinion doesn't matter. I think that
come on, Sorin.
Each one of us can make their informed opinions about how to manage their brands. I think there is something about brand fame that I would love to understand a little bit more, because there is something about those brands that were built years ago, like the Pepsi of this world, the Walkers, the Snickers, and so on. Those brands were not built in the last 5 years with retail media. Those were built with traditional TV, let's say. And I think we are today in a world in which we are struggling to build those kind of billion-dollar brands with digital. So how do you build fame with retail media would be something I would be really interested to research going forward. So it's not that I don't believe in brand love. I believe that some brands like toilet paper you have a lower relationship with that brand than you have with your Apple computer. But I believe that brands should try to become famous.
That's a nice way to conclude this morning. Thank you, everyone. And
thank you.
Thank you. That was incredible. Again, here is the QR code from Sorin. So, of course, we'll share that. And don't forget to buy this book. I think I have just a little minutes left, a few minutes late, but let's conclude this. First of all, a few announcements. On February 11, you of course know there is the 7th edition of Retail Media Remix, or the 3rd one, sorry. This is a little bit more in French, but it should be incredible, and that's in Paris and remote. We have the 6th edition of our Gender Equity and Diversity and Tech in Tech webinar, very important, on March 9. Again, you can scan and register. And the surprise was we have another amazing book. So once you finish the one from Sorin, you can look at this one. Kevin Evers is the Harvard Business Review author. He is a senior editor there. He wrote an amazing book that is a blockbuster in the US at the moment, which is called There's Nothing Like This, The Strategic Genius of Taylor Swift. And so we'll have him with us, present his book. It's going to be spring, so I'm teasing here, but please, you can register already. You'll be the first ones to be aware and watch your seats. Not remote, sorry, doesn't work, the orange spots, but we'll think about something for random. And I think, of course, the Data Collaboration Summit in June 18, in Paris and live stream, all in English. We have an amazing room waiting for you. We are expecting a few hundred people, and I think that's it. Don't forget about the certificate. I heard many people in the room tell me, I'm interested in this. So let's chat about this. We have a number of certificates, including one about retail media and data collaboration, or media and measurement for brands. So scan it and let's chat about it. I want to thank our team. Congratulations for organizing all this. Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Morgane. Thank you, Anya. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, another Thibaut. Thank you, Laure, Clément, Fabien, Meltid, Simran, Federico, Luca, Aurelia, and Elodie. Thank you all for watching remote, for your participation. And now let's go drinks. And thank you so much.